goodness, what a play!
Fumble the ball, and Denver has recovered. Oh, my!
Dempsey kicks, it's on the way! It is! Good! Good!
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions!
Oh, he caught it! Oh! Unbelievable!
All right, here we go. We are back. Welcome back to the FOMFanatics podcast, episode 7, going into week 4. Welcome back, everybody. Phil, how you doing?
Well, as you can tell, I'm not in my usual spot. I'm on the couch because the cat was on my arm. Oh, cat moved. I can go to my normal spot.
Moving back to normal spot.
Moving the cat just to do a podcast. So, as soon as I start talking, left.
You got to have your normal spot because of the trophy there.
Yeah, the trophy is pretty key. The other thing I realized while you were doing that countdown introduction there is we could unmute ourselves. Like the whole idea we can't talk over video, I'm pretty sure we can.
Can we?
Well, it just our thing went to mute when you go to any sort of video thing, but you can click it. I tried it. It goes to unmute.
Really?
I thought I'd try screaming or something and see if anyone heard me, but
that's a game changer because then we can have video and comment over it, which was always what I had assumed, like what I was told you couldn't do.
Yeah, put the intro back on for a second. We'll test it out. We don't have to do the whole thing, but
fine. I'll do the countdown because it's not as loud.
All right, fair enough.
All right.
Hey, Jam, can you hear me? Is this working at all?
I can hear you.
Well, there you go. See,
what
this is
fine. The whole time.
Yeah.
You know how much easier those draft intros would have been if we could do it this way?
Yeah, well, now we know.
Yeah, all right. Good to know, actually, because then we can I can actually have kind of like highlights and things like that. Just mute them and we can talk over them.
Exactly.
All righty. So, how's your week been?
It's not a week worth talking about. How about you? How's things over there?
It was a bit of a weird week. My kid got a runny nose on Sunday, and then on Monday we had to keep him home from daycare because of runny nose. Now, in the past would have just been whatever, but now it's like all hell is breaking loose, crisis overload. So he started to develop a fever, so we actually had to go and do the whole COVID test thing, which I have not had to experience yet. Not a bad experience overall. Because actually a pretty good system.
You could.
Just Aiden, just my son. I should have just when I called, been like, can we just all get tested? Why not? If we're gonna go there anyway. Seemed like a lot of other people were doing that, but I didn't. I didn't have the foresight to do that. Seems like it's just a cold because he's already recovered. Basically, like the fever's gone and he's just kind of on the other side of it. But regardless, I gotta wait for friggin' COVID test results. And during that time, he is at home while I'm working and trying to do things, which is making things quite a bit more difficult. So that's been my week.
Did they say how long it takes to get the test results?
I think normally it's like 1 to 2 days, but right now it's like 3 to 4 days because of the increasing cases. Everyone's panic has increased and everyone's going for tests. I don't know. I might get one anyway because there's places you can go if you're asymptomatic, where you're not allowed to go. If you over here at least, you only go to the hospital if you're symptomatic. So if you have any kind of symptoms, but there's a bunch of places you can go if you're asymptomatic. Get it done, get peace of mind. I might get it done regardless, but honestly, I think I've gotten my son's cold now. I'm starting to feel those familiar feelings. So if he's got COVID, I too have COVID.
All right, I'm rescinding your ongoing invitation to stop by for Sunday football
until I've tested negative, or my son is.
Yeah, at the very least, your son tests negative.
And yeah. And why isn't my oh, there you go. South Park season starting tonight. Oh yeah, I think they're starting the COVID episode, which is very South Park of them. So I don't know if that's on right now, but I'll be watching it later. I found that while I love South Park, while I do love South Park, I've never watched it on the time that it is it is being released, like on its official time. It's always like at some time in a binge watch kind of scenario.
Why does my computer not realize that South Park is tonight? It knows there's a new Archer episode tonight.
And it's like an hour-long special too, apparently.
Is South Park just not in my list? South Park is in my list. I don't know what's happening there. Huh.
Ah, your flawless system there, Phil.
Yeah, it's clearly flawed.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get into some football talk. I think Nico had requested we kick off with some Ben Wyatt League discussions because he's got to work and he's watching, I believe. So why don't we accommodate that? As you can see, my BWAFF banner is up. Should we jump right into? Is there any trades that we need to talk about? I don't think so.
No one. Well, okay. So South Park and San Antonio made a fairly meaningless trade.
What was that?
It's trade nonetheless. South Park gave up Mike Vrabel, and San Antonio gave up Anthony Lynn and Adrian Peterson.
Oh, right. This was so that Chris could get a running back to start, who he ended up starting over that dude who went off. Wilson? I don't know who that dude is. Yeah, you got it, Nico. We got your back. Yeah, there was some guy on his team that because he was so low on running backs and going up into rivalry week, he made that trade to start Adrian Peterson, who didn't do anything, but the other guy went off.
Oh, yeah,
I still don't think it was. Yeah.
There's no one in front of him. I don't know why you wouldn't start him. Normally fine, but when everyone else is injured.
Yeah, exactly. But for whatever reason, he didn't. So here we are. So let's jump right into these results. Franchise weekly results. Here we go. So what's the first game? I see mine up front as usual.
Malibu and Oakland.
All right, let's jump into Malibu and Oakland. All right, so Malibu takes the win, going 3-0 on the season with a very efficient efficiency rating of 92.9. Oakland had a very solid efficiency rating too, but that doesn't bode very well for his team. If in 91.1% efficiency rating, he only got 148 points. I don't think there was any real surprise here. I think we both called Malibu to win this game. Any thoughts here?
No. It's frustrating because at the beginning of the season, my projections had me thinking that Malibu and I were going to be competitive, and Malibu is just annihilating me. So, I look at this team, and I don't see a reason why it's not going to continue to do well.
Yeah, Malibu is actually has a pretty solid team that even has a bit of depth, not as much as but I mean, there's not a lot of teams in Ben Wyatt that have a crazy amount of depth anyway. So it's like I expect to see better
depth unless your starters are just trash, because everyone had the same sort of since you don't have the rookie draft picks to get cheap depth so you can sign other people. It's only been 3 weeks, so there's no opportunity really yet to just have someone who started out cheap and that is now worth more money. Everyone's sort of in the same position there.
Well, I mean, come on, Jason. What did you expect? So I think one of the bigger performances he got out of his defense, Shaq Barrett and Brian Burns. Nice to see Brian Burns have a big game because I have him in the other league. And I happen to like him. So no real surprises in terms of our picks. We had Malibu favored by 21. Both of us said that Malibu would cover. I had it as my shoe-in, so I got 2 points on that one. You got 1. What is next? Let us go on to San Diego versus you. Is that the next game on the books?
Yeah, I'll interject once your game's there.
All right. So yeah, this was a high-scoring affair for both teams. You had an awful efficiency rating on this one.
Yeah.
So San Diego wins 231 to 195. What killed your efficiency rating? Alden Smith was.
I mean, you can see all the arrows in there of people that.
But I'm trying to see the big ones. The big ones were Alden Smith, Robert Tonyan. But would you have started Robert Tonyan?
But I've started any of those guys on the bench. Like Alden Smith was the only one I was giving any serious consideration to, and even that's hard to justify over J.J. Watt and Cameron Jordan. J.C. Jackson, I guess, as well. He's been my best corner. I just want to bench him for Austin based on the potential to get an interception, but that didn't work out. But other things like Matt Ryan versus Tom Brady, we're going to do that. I mean, John Brown getting 0. I certainly wasn't going to start Hunter Renfrow or Greg Ward over him.
How did John Brown get 0? That was crazy. in a high-scoring game, like in a pretty high-scoring, dramatic game, not a single reception. I don't believe he was hurt.
He eventually got hurt in the game.
He did. Okay.
He started the whole first half not hurt and still had 0. So
that's wild.
Yeah,
that is such a uniquely frustrating part of fantasy.
My running backs were the best part of my team.
Yeah. Mike Davis. Well, everybody said Mike Davis isn't going to do shit. Mike Davis showed up.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason I paid him, because in the week that he replaced McCaffrey, he was catching a ton of passes. So I was like, okay, well, I guess we'll keep throwing to this guy, which is exactly what happened. He's not efficient. He sucks. But he got 8 balls. Like,
you'll get the points.
Yeah.
Could have been a better night for Odell. Like, you got a lot of arrows down, unfortunately.
Yeah. This was not a good week. Was for my bench, but what can you do?
What can you do? Yeah. Starter plus. Actually, if you look at starter plus non-starter totals, like you guys are like still dead even. You were ahead by like 2.4 points. But
yeah, and they're a lot higher actually than a lot of the games. Like you look at other teams, they're in like the 200-point range. Or like Jason only had 164 between his starters and his. Oh, sorry, that's 198 between his starters and bench.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's frustrating. Like I feel your pain from last season and the season before in the other league, where it's like, why does my team just suck? Because 360 points combined, they should.
Yes, they should be a solid team.
And that's still with Michael Thomas out and several other injuries, but it is what it is. At least I still have my draft picks, so if I don't do well, I got something out of it.
You do got that. So that was that was it. I don't think there's anything really too big to talk about on San Diego. I guess he got a nice performance. He is well on his bench, but he was.
So Jam, so far I've
got the win. So about that.
Sorry, Jam. There's been some. I don't know whose internet side is crappy at the moment. It's me or you, but you're breaking up a lot. So if someone with who's watching can comment on whose fault this is, that would be great. Although it's not like either of us would probably know how to fix it. It's someone's fault, and that's just what we're gonna have to deal with.
Yep.
Yeah, looking at the team, I mean, it's a frustrating one too from a standpoint of San Diego has in every other week not performed particularly well, and then they play me and just everyone sort of goes off. I remember Shaq Griffin in the game. I didn't even realize San Diego had him. I was like, oh yeah, he's having a good game for himself, and I was like, oh yeah, he's on San Diego. I see.
Apparently it's me who's having the issues.
Well,
all right. Yeah, we got it. It's nothing I can do about it at this point. We just hope it gets better.
It sucks losing in rivalry week, but at the same time, I mean, San Diego didn't even make the effort to make fun of my team, so it doesn't hurt as badly as it could have if David really got involved in that whole thing. I'll get him next time.
I know that he really wanted to, but something happened. Like he was actually getting rammed up to say some stuff. Picks wise, we had you favored by 15 points, both picking you. So zeros across for that one. Thank you for that, San Diego. All right. So next up, I've got Houston versus San Antonio. Is that next?
Yeah.
All right, so Houston, San Antonio. Oof, man. Well, I guess this is the game. Was this the first game that San Antonio didn't have his big two?
Yeah, this was the one where, if I recall,
took a
it
beating.
was definitely both immediately. I don't even remember what the spread was. We are just like, yeah, Houston. So
Yep,
all
we
Houston
called Houston.
all Houston needed to have was a few people show up, and Keenan Allen did, and some guys on defense did, and that was enough. Everyone else was sort of mediocre, but it worked out. Dante Jackson, what did he do to get interception? That's key for a corner, so that got him a lot of points. Chris Jones, if I recall, had 2 sacks on the day. Also,
Sorry, good.
Chris Jones had 2 sacks and 2 forced fumbles, which was huge for Houston. But yeah, on the other side, you look at San Antonio's team, and it's like, ooh, you're starting Jalen Samuels and LaShawn McCoy. I thought my running back situation was bad. Van Jefferson, after sort of a lot of hype in the offseason, sort of came out with 1 catch, went up to 4 catches the next week. I think people were hopeful. And then he barely even got any snaps in week 3. So that's
my God.
That's not a great sign, but
goose egged him.
Yeah, so that's not great. And then you look at the benches, and there's a few points that Houston could have got, but San Antonio doesn't have much there either. I mean, this is exactly what we all saw coming, right? Like if Christian McCaffrey and Saquon were out, that's it. you're done.
And we were saying if Christian McCaffrey or Saquon is out, not expecting that both will be out at the same time. So and Christian McCaffrey comes back, San Antonio is going to take some rough ones, even after he comes back. Big one, but 80 some odd million. It's
the combination.
You don't really have much money.
Even more. The combination of the two of them were making like.
All right. So in terms of picks, you said you said.
I said what now? Jam's internet connection is just destroying this class.
That's like half. Well, you said. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry. I'm just hoping that it corrects itself, but it's clearly my fault, and we'll just have to deal with it. No, I was saying in terms of pick, you already said we both picked Houston. We both get points there, and you got it as your lock, so that's good.
What was the spread on this one?
Did anyone catch any of that?
What was the spread on this game?
Am I just breaking up right now?
This is a travesty.
All right. We're just frozen at this point.
I don't know the solution to this other than you. Unless you have an Ethernet cable, I don't really know what to do here.
20.
20 was the spread. Okay.
This is not going to work. This is not going to work.
This really isn't. No. I'm trying to think of. Can you move to somewhere near your router?
I'm doing this upstairs. I don't have an internet cable connection here. Let me see.
Can you move closer to your router?
Unless I could try and tether.
That actually might be better. So Jam's internet is clearly gone now as he's switching to tethering to his work phone. We'll see how that goes, but it can't possibly be worse than his home internet was. So hopefully he'll be back in a minute. I guess while we wait for Jam, we can have we could do a couple of things. I could either sit here awkwardly and say nothing, or we can continue. So since I don't have the ability to put your comments on the screen, I think I'm going to continue. That probably seems a little better than sitting here awkwardly. Or I could just, sort of stroke the trophy back here. So Jam's computer is now completely crashed. So yeah, let's move along here. Next game we had after the San Antonio-Houston one, we're looking at Las Vegas versus West Waco. This was probably the game of the week here. Big scores on both sides. We had 225 out of Las Vegas, 234.8 out of West Waco. Both teams somewhere around 90% efficiency rating. And they just did it in a different way, I think. Las Vegas got this on the backs of Russell Wilson and Alvin Kamara, both of whom have just shown up all year for Vegas. His team has been those two. Similarly to what we were just talking about with CMC and Saquon, if these two go out, Las Vegas is going to have a huge issue. There's not a lot of other points that you're seeing here. You get occasional big games out of defense. Jamie Collins did all right. Mike Evans should do okay. Like 14 points out of him is sort of what's expected, maybe a little low. But the rest of this team is not looking like it has a lot of potential. So far, Las Vegas has been doing well, but they still unfortunately lost this game. Picked up a point for getting in the top half of the league in points this week. But West Waco had a great game based on basically everyone. Justin Jefferson coming out huge. I don't think anyone was expecting that. Going from basically why aren't you throwing him the ball to 175 receiving yards on 7 catches with a touchdown. Big game out of him. Aaron Donald doing something huge. 5 tackles, 1 forced fumble recovery, 2 sacks in the game, just having a classic Aaron Donald game. And then a scattering of points from McKinnon, Nick Chubb with a big game, 26 points. Bill Belichick coming through for him. Ryan Tannehill, not so much. Kelsey being Kelsey. But, outside of a disappointing effort from basically just Alex Johnson on Denver, or A.J. Johnson. I don't know why it says Alex Johnson here. But everyone else showed up. So it was a good game for Waco. Some points left on the bench. A lot of good defensive ends here. Yannick Ngakoue and Jason Pierre-Paul on the bench. Matt Milano. I think there's a lot of potential for Waco going forward. Jamin sent me a lot of messages here.
Am I back? Can you see me now?
You are back. I just sort of kept going while I was getting a lot of dings.
No, I didn't realize that the broadcast remains because it just crashed on me. Like it just went away.
Yeah, I don't have any sort of producer ability to put up people's comments or anything, but I can at least keep yapping at nobody.
No, appreciate it. I'm glad that it kept going. All right. So let's see if this lasts.
I covered Las Vegas and West Waco while you were gone.
Sweet. All right. Heartbreaking game from Vegas.
I should mention from Vegas' side, the thing I forgot to mention, 2 things. One, T. Higgins, surprising game. Being tall got him 2 touchdowns. Not much help, but that's where being tall helps in the end zone. So good job, T. Higgins. And then, as we already laughed about in the chat, Josh Allen and his 34 points are on the bench because you have Russell Wilson. So just keep getting those bench points, I guess.
Make a trade, man.
Yeah, but the problem is he's not in a good position. Like, who is going to trade anything of value for him? Yeah. Like, most people, the upgrade you would get from a quarterback to Josh Allen, which is why quarterbacks don't have a whole lot of value in the first place, is probably not going to be worth whatever you have to give up in terms of what you're going to lose from a team in terms of wide receivers, running backs, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe he gets dealt, but only if, Denver doesn't have too much expectations on what he'll actually get for this, I think.
I think it's also a point of it's just difficult to let go of one of these 2 players, especially because your return probably isn't going to be massive because they're both having huge years. Like both of them have been killing it, but at the same time, it's like these guys are just on your bench, so it's just an incredible injury insurance. But that's it, and bye week insurance. But that's it at this point, and it's a lot of money to those 2 players. But let's see how he manages it going forward. Tough loss. Is there a heartbreak of the week in this league? I can't recall. No,
the equivalent in this league is you get a point. Like everything is based on victory points at the end of the year. You get 2 for a win, and then 1 for being in the top half of the league and scoring. Right. So if you lose but still had a good performance, it still will help you towards the playoffs.
Okay, so he's got that. But yeah, it's a tough one. Okay, let's move on to the next game, and hopefully my internet holds. But it's good to know that it keeps going if it does crash. So if you guys don't see me again.
Are you tethered at this point, or are you on your home internet?
No, the same home internet. I just connected to the other version of it, and it seems to be working better. So let's hope it holds. All right, so next one I've got on my list is Jersey Giants versus Scranton Stranglers, a very interesting one because of the rivalry week.
Yeah, this is one where it's really unfortunate for the league. we don't want Scranton to both be good and have a top draft pick, but that's exactly what's happening here.
Yep.
Jersey's what now, like 0-3 or something?
Yeah. I mean, I know that I beat Jersey in the first week, and Scranton just beat them. So week 2, did they win?
I don't think so. But
It would have been against Cyril's team, against Washington, who had a horrible performance this week, but I think they're 0-3.
Yeah. So this is not good for anyone other than Scranton. But this is what we're dealing with now. 2 years of that pick switch, and Scranton looking like they might be a playoff team here. So
I really thought it was going to be like a more of an even competition. I mean, we're only 3 weeks in, but it's not a good start to the year. And Scranton's looking pretty good, and the projections are showing that as well. So then you end up being pretty good, and you end up getting those picks. Yeah. Congrats. I mean, hey, man.
the key thing for Scranton has been, that Mac injury. Jonathan Taylor has gone from he might get you a few points to he's someone who should be in your lineup every week.
Yeah, for sure advanced his usefulness pretty quickly. But that's the way it falls sometimes. But it really fell well, and we're giving a lot of shit for how much they paid.
Well,
at the time it was warranted though.
Yeah, and I remember I think it was in some podcast I was saying that at least one of the 5 running backs will bust, and my money was on Akers, if anyone. And so far that's looking right, reasonable, because the other dude there in LA, I don't know, I've forgotten his name. I'm bad with names, but he's performing well. I think Pro Football Focus has him as like one of the best backs in the league so far. So good luck to Akers, and I know he's making like $17 million for a while. So
who? Malcolm Brown?
No. Akers. Oh,
no, the other guy in LA.
Malcolm Brown, who's taken over. It's the rookie from last year who didn't play much.
Oh yeah, I can't recall his name right now. Anyone hope?
But
anyone know his name? Throw it up on the chat. But he's been like it's pretty much done for Akers, I think.
I think it's too early to write him off. It's been 3 games.
No, but it's about opportunity, right? Like,
yeah,
I don't know if it's tricky.
It's absolutely going to be tricky for him if he keeps performing, but you never know what will happen.
There he is. Yeah.
Henderson may just all get hurt. Henderson gets hurt. All of a sudden, Akers steps into a great opportunity there.
Akers right back in, yeah.
You never know, but it's not great. DeAndre Swift in Detroit, the other one, where it's happening exactly like everyone predicted.
Detroit is doing it to him?
Yeah. He might be a good running back, but who knows?
How do we tell?
Detroit. And Matt Patricia is just going to be like, you run the ball this week.
So. He's such a great talent, too. It's unfortunate that he's just going to get fucked by situation, and that's what's happening so far.
Yeah, like Swift is on Jersey, and he got a total of 1 reception for 19 yards. That was his whole game. No rushing yards. That was it.
No rushing yards.
No rushing yards. That was it. The good news for Jersey is them picking up James Robinson.
Nice pickup.
Yeah, I mean they spent a good amount of money on him, and it was well worth it. He's really coming through. I would argue that right now he has the most value of any player in the league. Now, this is going to sound like a strange statement to some who aren't familiar with contract leagues, I guess, quite as much. But remember, everyone else, unless their value has changed from the auction, basically doesn't really have any inherent value, because someone else could have had that for the player for just as much money.
Yeah, they're worth the money that they were paid.
Yeah, Aaron Jones has gone up in value because it was like there's some questions about him. He's been kicking ass, and he had a good deal, so he's gone up a bit, or people have gone down a bit. But James Robinson has been playing as one of the best running backs in the league. He is making $4.2 million, and the key thing here, he is one of only a few players in the league that are extendable because he was not signed.
Oh, yeah. That's big. That's big.
I would argue he has more value than anyone in the league at this point. What Jersey wants to do about that, whether they want to keep him or whether they want to be like, you know what, we're 0-3. Let's blow this up. Let's get some draft picks, et cetera, et cetera. That's up to them. But clearly the highest value player in my view.
Yeah, good piece either way. I mean, if they start to turn it around, which is going to be tough to do. But man, extendable is a big part of that because none of our guys are extendable. Anyone in the auction, and if you can extend a player like that who looks like he's carved out the role, he's like this year's Gardner Minshew for the Jags. He's gonna be valuable for many years to come.
Yeah, and overall, Jersey's game, I mean, that's the good news for them. James Robinson is a huge high point, but being 0-3 is not good news. And you feel for them because they had a good week this week, 212 points. Big performances, Jeff Okuda. He got a pick. That's great to see that out of a rookie. He got it off Kyler Murray. 6 tackles in addition. Great game for him.
Yeah.
Alan Lazard coming through with 146 receiving yards.
Alan Lazard had a hell of a game.
I mean, the Saints secondary has just looked brutal this year.
Yeah,
they got picked apart by Oakland. Got picked apart by, Alan Lazard here. I don't know what has happened to them. I banked on their defense in a lot of leagues where it was like, pick up a team, and I was like, New Orleans, done. They were always like 5th, 6th ranked, and I just liked them better than New England. Given New England, everyone was like, nah, COVID, I'm not playing.
That's true, yeah.
But they have been awful.
The Saints need to figure something out because since their Week 1 win against the Bucs have looked very good. So that's going to make an interesting competition in that division. I watched that whole game. Alan Lazard looked good. Like he looked like he had a real good, has really good chemistry with the Rodgers. Obviously, they were without Devontae Adams, who should be back next week because he was a game time decision.
He's probably not. No, he's probably not going to play.
You don't think so? Because it looked like he was. They almost had him play this week.
I have him in another league, and I've been trying to get updates on him. It's not looking promising.
Okay.
I think the thought is that he's going to come back not this week, but the week after that.
Well, maybe then Lazard can help Jersey get its first win.
Well, the other thing that's going to help Jersey, in my view, and going 0-3 is such a hard start to climb out of, but Deshaun Watson. Now, he's a player that I avoided literally every draft. I did something like 30 different best ball drafts. I don't have him in a single one of them just because I did not like the promise of him without Nuke on his team. So I've been avoiding him, but at the same time, his slow start, which I think is probably going to be disappointing to Jersey right now. The slow start came at the hands of the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Steelers.
Yeah, he's had a rough schedule.
Start to deal with. So
had a rough schedule.
He hasn't looked good so far, but there's some hope that he'll turn it around sometime soon. This game against the Vikings, who are just awful, great time to do it.
Yeah. And the Vikings game is officially on. It didn't get affected because nobody on the team was tested positive. So no issues in terms of how to start your players and whatnot. Also, I think Jersey is having a little bit of what you're experiencing and also what I experienced in FOMFA the last 2 years, where teams are just showing the fuck up when they play them. I know Scranton's a good team, but like I had a monster game against Jersey, and I think Washington also had a monster game against Jersey. I recall Jersey did pretty well both games, just not enough to beat those teams. So it's a tough start, and let's see how it goes.
The other interesting thing that I'm seeing on Scranton's side is Darius Leonard got a lot of money given his last 2 seasons and how much better he was than all the other defenders. So far, he hasn't been. He's been pedestrian at best. He's been getting sort of like LB2 numbers. Will that continue? Probably not. But that's something that's got to raise flags when the 3 games that he has started out this season with. I believe I'm looking back now, but it is the worst stretch of 3 games he's had in his career. Like
7.5 points, 9.5 points, and 13 against the Jets.
Those aren't bad numbers, but when you're paying someone, $18 million when no other defender is near that, you're expecting elite production, and you're not getting it right now.
Yeah, like normally, in past years, Darius Leonard was putting up wide receiver type numbers, like really big numbers every single game. So that's definitely an interesting point, and see how he kind of does with it. I guess we didn't because I cut out do the pick, see what the picks were on Vegas and Waco. So let's do both of them now. So Vegas we had favored by 3 points. We both picked Vegas and he lost, so that's zeros on our end. And then we've got Scranton and Jersey where we disagreed. Scranton was favored by 10. You took Scranton, I took Jersey. So point for you. No point for Jam.
So before we move on to the next game, the one other final thing I wanted to bring up, and you're touching on this in terms of bad luck. Jersey's average points for have been 196.4, which beats South Park, who's number 1 in their division, for instance. 196.4. It's not elite, but it's in the top half of the league.
Yeah,
and they're 0-3. So, I mean, they picked up some of those victory points from, the getting in the top half, but they've had a lot of bad luck. So, here's hoping it turns around and this draft pick trade debacle isn't quite as bad as it might seem at the moment.
Well, I'm hoping he makes it interesting because, right now, Scranton going up, having a good team with those picks, it's gonna be rough. Okay, so in terms of next game I've got on my list is Enniscorthy.
This is actually your game, finally.
Okay, let's go to my game then. So South Park Cows versus South Philly Pigeon Boys, a bitter rivalry that has turned into a embarrassing loss for South Park, taking it on the chin. This is actually just a really bad game for South Park. Like my team showed up and did there was players that really showed up, I actually got a good performance out of Carson Wentz, even though in game he wasn't great. That rushing touchdown really helped. But South Park hit some bad luck, and I hit some very good luck.
Yeah,
so,
the Kansas City-Baltimore game went exactly as well. I guess not exactly as, but it went about as well as you could hope for. Because it didn't get Harbaugh any points, but it limited Jackson.
Yeah.
Like Lamar Jackson only getting 12.7, you are not expecting that.
Yeah, that was my big kind of in my mind, I was like, the most ideal game is like that it's a that Baltimore wins by a lot, but like they get a lot of running touchdowns. So it's not, but like this, like Lamar Jackson, if he's winning a game, he's doing a lot to do that. Plus, probably running it in a couple times.
Yeah, the running touchdowns are probably him.
Yeah. So then, when I was like, I would love it if I just got a nice goose egg out of John Harbaugh because they lost and they lost badly, because that would help me in this situation, even though it doesn't help me on my defensive coordinator or on my coach. But I had more than enough with the rest of the players to cover it. But even then, I got the funniest one for me was the Levante David interception. I don't know if you saw that interception in game. It was like who's that? Driscoll, the Broncos QB right now. The pass got deflected and the ball just literally got lobbed up, and Levante David was just underneath for 5 minutes. It wasn't even like this thing where he really had to anticipate something. It was just all right, yeah, I'll take that. And I was like, all right. And when that happened, I was like, yeah, I think this game is wrapped. if I'm gonna get those situations, because also I got zeros out of both my defensive ends. One of them was my fault. I didn't realize Dante Fowler wasn't playing until it was too late, so I had to take that zero. I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna take that. And then Chase Young got hurt. So hopefully he's going to be okay. But those things considered, Harrison Smith getting an interception, Tyler Lockett having a monster game, and also Derrick Henry didn't have much in the first half, and then suddenly rushed for 2 touchdowns in a row, and suddenly I was well ahead because this game looked close for a while, and then things just blew up. So I'm very pleased. I have no complaints.
This is all with Julio Jones on your bench too, that you're able to do this sort of thing. Because Jones was injured, so fine.
Well, I need him to get better because I don't think I'm gonna I think depth is still an issue. I need to get I do need him back if I'm gonna keep going.
So your team's in good shape.
Alrighty. How do we pick this one? I think you went against me, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, I might have.
Yeah, because you said that it's Mahomes versus Lamar. That so you had South Park. I had myself. So should have taken myself as a lock, but I got my lock, so it's fine.
Yeah.
All right, next up, anything else to say on that one? Should we move on?
No, let's keep it going.
Okay. Next up, we got Enniscorthy versus Washington.
Yeah, this was a game where Washington relied on only Mahomes.
Oh my God! Yeah, look at this. Look at these scores. Only two double-digit scores on his team.
49 points of Pat Mahomes.
Great game.
The best thing is Braxton Berrios with 15.9 and then a bunch of single-digit scores. So Washington lost this game badly to a 230-point effort from Enniscorthy. There's not too much to say here other than I guess it's a little surprising that David Johnson was on Washington's bench, but this is one of those things where I remember going into the season talking to Cyril and being like, you can't start this many running backs, right? Like, you can make a trade because you don't have receivers. And he decided, no, he doesn't want to. So instead, he's going to get 0.9 points out of Deontay Johnson shouldn't get 0.9. Braxton Berrios did surprisingly well for being the person I should be insulting here. But it's going to be hard to pick the right running backs every week, and you could have points elsewhere.
Well, I can think of a couple teams that could use running backs. So there's definitely opportunities out there.
I don't even care. Other teams will care. I don't care anymore. My receivers are also in trouble at the moment. So anyway, Enniscorthy came into the season as something the projections hated. I've come to the conclusion that Mark just knows football better than the experts because every season I make a big thing of pointing out this isn't me doing any player projections. I'm just getting player projections from elsewhere. And the projections for every league, every season are like Mark's team is not going to do well. And then he goes and does well. Darrell Henderson, we were talking about how great he's been doing lately earlier, put up a great game. Aaron Rodgers looking back like Aaron Rodgers after years of frustration. I guess LaFleur is just getting better performances out of him. DeAndre Hopkins, an elite receiver who some questions made him drop to wide receiver 6 or 7 in a draft. He's now looking like one of the top 3 options again.
Yes.
Looking at this, and Calvin Ridley has been, I think, the WR1 over the season so far.
He has been murdering.
Not all, but almost all of Mark's players have been outperforming their original projections. Now, is some of that luck? Probably, but I mean, he's been also doing this so consistently over the years that I've got to give him some credit to just beating these projections.
Yeah, definitely. And this is with George Kittle on his bench, who's one of his highest paid players, obviously hurt right now. And also very nice grab of Mo Alley Cox off the waivers. I know that I put in a bid there as well, and had a great game again. So this is I think he might he just might know what he's doing.
Well, the only thing I'm going to say to not knowing what he's doing is how do you leave Carl Lawson against the Eagles' banged up offensive line on the bench? If you have any defensive linemen playing the Eagles, put them in.
Put them in.
It's free points.
They're just gonna feast on Carson.
Yeah, so I don't. That decision was a little weird for me, but I mean, other than that, Mark's doing great. Yeah. So what do we say on this one? Please tell me I didn't take Cyril.
We had Enniscorthy favored by 7, expected to be a much closer game. Both of us picking Enniscorthy to cover. So points both ways. Yeah, I do recall from last week there wasn't much disagreement. No. I think it'll be harder to have disagreement in this league, with all teams kind of having a competitive approach.
Well, that I should make it for more disagreement. I think the lines were just. Maybe they weren't ideal this week. So
there were short lines though. There weren't any blowout type lines. This was Enniscorthy by 7. That's
but that's why we picked Enniscorthy, because that one needed to be higher. Enniscorthy has been playing a lot better than.
Oh, I see what you mean. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Anyway, got one game left here.
Let's go on to Hollywood versus Chicago. So Hollywood and Chicago. Chicago had probably the worst team performance of any team this year, as they will.
102.
Yeah, as they will very openly admit. I know that there was a lot of commentary going back and forth in the chat about how just horrifically pitiful their team is actually playing. Hollywood put up a game, 200 points. I think they've had better performances. Although Hollywood's been a bit of an up and down team. Like I feel like last week, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like last week they had a really bad performance.
Last week in week 2, you mean? Week 2.
Yeah, in week 2.
They had the lowest score of everyone. They had 149.6 that week.
Yeah, and first week they had the top score.
Yeah.
So it's been really weird and up and down, and maybe that's just the way that their team is, depending on big performances versus not. But my God, let's talk a little bit about Chicago here. Ezekiel Elliott at 16.8, which is probably a low score for Ezekiel Elliott, was the top performer by far. Well, I guess, sorry, Kenny Golladay at 16.7.
I mean, it's a little low, but it's not outrageous. You put that over a full season, and it's not far off what you would expect him to get. It's a little low, but again, I think maybe like 18 to 20 is sort of what you're expecting in a typical game.
Yeah.
But that means you're going to have some games where he's getting like 30 and some where he's getting like 8. So, like 16.8, not a bad performance.
Mark Ingram's going to continue to frustrate because he came back and had a good week 2 performance, and then week 3. I mean, this also has to do with just getting beat by the Chiefs pretty badly. 4 points, put up a solid 4 points, and that's rough. Got 0 out of Robert Quinn, 0.5 out of his defensive end there. My God, this was not a good game.
Yeah, he only got 1 point out of L'Jarius Sneed, but I support that start anyway.
Yeah, he's looked good.
Oh, I have no idea how he looks, but it's just a 80 grade name. So
for that name, you got to go.
I can't knock starting L'Jarius Sneed.
But I mean, look at his bench. My God, like this is a 54.4% efficiency rating, probably the lowest that I've seen.
But that's more because his starters did nothing. It's not like his bench was spectacular. There are some good performances on it.
That's true.
Rex Burkhead. No one's expecting Rex Burkhead to put up 35 points in a week.
No one's going to start Rex Burkhead.
No.
This was to frustrate a lot of people, him sitting on their bench.
Yeah, he's an emergency sort of situation.
Yeah. Max Crosby had a nice game. I think I would have started Max Crosby. He's looked good. But otherwise, I mean, none of these would have made a difference. Like, there's no point really arguing over it. It was just all around a bad performance, and he took the loss for it.
And Chicago's probably kicking themselves because they did start Max Crosby in week 1. He got them 1 point. Week 2, 4 points. And he's like, screw this guy. We're benching him. 16 points.
Yeah. It is what it is. What are you going to do? I mean, you can't really get all that. This is one of those games where you can't even really get mad about it. It's just nothing you could have done would have saved you here. This is going to be a pretty bad loss. Is this the biggest deficit that we've seen? It's got to be, right? 98 points?
Yeah, definitely.
That's huge. On Hollywood side, anything real? I mean, like you said, there's a bunch of guys that did their jobs and some guys that overperformed. Brandon Graham had a great game.
I mean, Hollywood's team, I think we've discussed this before. It's frustrating because they are a team that is going to get better over the next few weeks. Most teams, it's going to be the opposite. It's going to be your starter is out, so you're putting in someone like, I'm just looking at Chicago at the moment, putting in someone like Josh Reynolds in there.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll get you some points, but you're not happy about it. But Hollywood had the strategy of, you know what, you guys all spend your money, I'll sit back, and I'll wait. And now you look at their starting lineup, and it looks like one of the better ones in the league. But on top of that, you look and it's like, oh, you have Sony Michel on your bench. You have Ayuk on your bench. You have McCole Hardman on your bench. Like, there are a lot of options here for him.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough for him to set lineups week to week. And while it's not as bad as 54.4, you can see it in the efficiency rating of 73.6%.
Yeah.
But it's definitely going to be helpful when those bye weeks and injuries start coming.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely a team that can survive a couple hits.
Currently, Hollywood is not in a playoff position, but they're very close. And I would actually say, next to your team, Hollywood, I think, is my favorite team in the conference.
Nice. Wow. Yeah, it's hard to disagree. It's just interesting up and down performances over the first 3 weeks, but definitely built to continue to provide success. And also, I like having he got a boost out of his offensive coach, offensive coordinator, and Andy Reid in that big game too. Let's see how that kind of continues. Anyways, in terms of picks, Hollywood was favored by 13. You took Hollywood. I took Chicago. So taking the loss there.
Me believing in my team, Jam. If my team isn't going to win anymore, I'm just adopting Hollywood's team as my team.
You just become a fanboy of Hollywood's team.
I'm just now a Haymakers fan. I'll make myself a little shirt for next week. And
can't even throw me support in a situation where we're not even in the same conference.
Your team is too good, Like, I'm happy for you, but I can't root for the team that's just so dominating everybody. There's no fun in that.
Yeah, I guess so. Projections are coming. Jeez, come on, Chris. So we've gotten through. Should we just finish off with the Ben Waffle predictions? And then move on to FOMFA straight up.
Well, we need to. Well, projections or predictions?
Sorry, projections followed by predictions.
All right. Yeah.
All right. So let me throw up the projections, and where am I losing everything today? There we go.
All right. This is a perfect opportunity for me to go grab a drink because I don't have pants on. I didn't want the camera showing that. So it's up to you to look through here and figure out what's interesting to you.
All right. Well, this is the first time I'm seeing this, so I'm gonna try my best to see how things have moved around. I'm not sure if things have moved around all that much. Let's start with jet setters, just because we just were talking about Hollywood. Like Phil said, Hollywood's still projected to be second in the division to South Park, but 51.5% chance of making the playoffs, 37.9% chance of winning the division. Still a little bit higher for South Park. Being above 50% to win the division. 60. I started with jet setters, Phil, just because we were just talking about Hollywood. But both top teams in this division looking to have pretty solid chances, and NS Corthy kind of in there at 10.6%. It'll be interesting to see how that changes, considering their win this week and how they do moving forward. But these consider the wins, right?
Yeah. So what I do with this is basically every week I'll put in the actual score, and then where it simulates the games, if there's a fixed score, it will just always use that score. So it will win that game 100% of the simulations at that point.
Okay.
It is considering NS Corthy's win. They're still 1-2.
Right.
And the problem is, even wins aside, you look at the points scored, and the projections still, they just not a big fan of Mark's team. And we'll see what changes there, if anything changes there, but it is what it is.
Let's see if he continues to defy the expectations. Otherwise, I don't think there was anything else that was too surprising here. I mean, Chicago dropped to not bottom of the division, but at the bottom end of the division, taking that big loss. Their high end projected points are lower than are the lowest actually in the jet setter division. So that's got to affect things moving forward.
It is, but interestingly, they have a higher projected record than NS Corthy and a higher chance of making the playoffs. Part of
these projections just don't like NS Corthy.
Well, I mean, they are saying that NS Corthy will get more points, but this is also implying that their schedule going forward is going to be a little harder.
Okay.
So that will take into account, bye weeks and who's on what team for that, but also the inter conference games. Potentially, NS Corthy just has a harder upcoming matchup.
All right, shall we continue with the Eastern Conference? Go to Rail Riders division.
Yeah, I mean your team's gonna win.
Gotta hold on that hope, man. So far, my luck index has not followed me to Ben Waffle, but it can show up whenever it wants. So
Scranton currently looking like a great chance at the wild card. I mean, might even take the division. It's not likely, but has about the same odds as Trump did of winning the election last year. And
I got my eyes on Scranton. I'm not just sitting back resting. I do see that they have a good team. Unfortunately for Jersey, this keeps their projections as pretty low. Taking three losses in a row, it's going to be hard to recover from that. But again, like we were talking about, it seems like they've hit on some hard times in the first 3 games.
Yeah, and I mean, you take out those 3 losses, and it's like you're projected to be 500 the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Like it's just unfortunate, but that's how these things go.
All right. I mean, same type of story for Washington. I don't think we have to really get into it. All right, Western Conference, starting with Pacific Division. Malibu, looking like a very good team, still projected to do as well as my team, with 95% chances of making playoffs, 90% chance to win the division. Yeah, so they're sitting pretty. But you're sitting there second in the division. So what do you think? How are you thinking about your team in these projections and how it's moving forward?
I mean, frustration. I don't know. I mean, I'm 1-2. It's at this point, it's going to be hard to catch Malibu. Not impossible, but extremely difficult. You see the division chances. I have 8.9%. So at this point, my way in is basically just doing it as a wild card. It's possible. I mean, the Southwest is going to beat up on each other a lot, so it'll help me out. My team, if they decide to show up, it'll look pretty good. As long as I keep finding running backs to not get injured, with Tariq Cohen now out for the season as well, that might be a challenge.
Oh, yeah. You're already short.
Yeah. And Green Bay has no interest in using Dillon at this point, so basically I'm just using that guy in Washington as well as whatever I can scrounge up based on other people getting injured. So far, that's been Mike Davis. I had hoped to do that with Dion Lewis, but the Giants decided, you know what? We're not going to use Dion Lewis at all. We're just going to go out and get Devontae Freeman and use him only.
Devontae Freeman became the guy.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm definitely going to have to be careful on that if I want any chance at winning. But hopefully when Michael Thomas comes back, he will make me a little less frustrated with the season than I currently am.
Nice question coming in from Nico. Are you considering VPs for playoff chances?
Fuck, I'm not.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I forgot to edit it for that. I can edit this for that going forward, but I just completely forgot to do that. So
that'd be interesting, actually, because there are some teams with a lot of victory points, and like a team like it might help a team like Jersey that has gotten 2 victory points, even though they've gotten 3 losses.
Yeah, definitely. So that's a good question. I forgot to do that, and I'll fix that for the next projections.
It's good. But yeah, like as you were mentioning, in like your division, it's like Malibu's 3-0, but everyone else is 1-2. So it's like it's not like and even in the Southwest division, you have Gamblers in San Antonio 1-2, Houston and Waco at 2-1. So I think there is something to Southwest beating up on each other and affecting their overall chances, because right now you have a better chance than every other team but Houston, essentially, to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and the I have basically similar points scored as West Waco does. Houston has had fewer so far.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens. I guess I've just gotten a little spoiled from my team in the other league, and now if I lose, the concept of like being 1-2 is just messing with me. I'm like, fuck this whole thing, blow it up.
Yeah, for those that don't know, and if you've heard this podcast, Phil's got a very good team in FOMFA. As you can see by the hardware sitting behind him, he's got a very good team in FOMFA. All right, Southwest Division, an interesting division, probably one of the most, next to Jet Setters, the most competitive in terms of being back and forth. Las Vegas, San Antonio, Houston, West Waco. I guess Houston's still the top team here. With 60% chance of making the playoffs and 50% chance of winning the division. But this is closer than most of the other divisions.
Yeah, and this was one of the divisions where at one point it was like everyone was predicted to be like 8-7 or 7-8 or whatever, like 6-7, 7-6, something like that. All of these teams have been real close. San Antonio dropped way the hell after those injuries, but before that it was close. The interesting thing to me here is that West Waco is currently in first place.
They projected 6-7, currently in first place.
Over Houston, but they are just not projected to get nearly as many wins as Houston going forward, even though they have the same amount of points pretty much projected.
Yeah, it's crazy. Competition, I guess? Schedule?
Yeah, this could come down to schedule again. It could be that Houston happens to play teams when key players are on bye weeks and West Waco doesn't have that luxury. It could be just, I guess it's not a matter of projections if the points scored are looking good for West Waco. So, yeah, well, we'll see. I think this is one of those ones where you're going to see the division bounce around a lot throughout the projections going forward. But it should be fun to watch this race.
Yeah, so see that, Denver? You're not out of it. Las Vegas is still in there, and this is going to be a scrappy division. All right, I think that covers projections. Anything else you wanted to add before we move on to picks?
No, nothing.
All right. So can like last week, Chris just sent them through the picks through while we were on the podcast. Would you mind just reading them out, and then I'll write them as we think about them?
Yep.
All right. So we got Ben Wyatt. We're doing first this week. What game we got first?
South Park is favored by 4 against West Waco.
4. Oh, that's an interesting game, actually, just coming off talking about West Waco. We had a good game. All right. Should I start or do you want to start?
Let's have you start this one.
Okay. Let me take a look at these fantasy previews here. South Park and West Waco. This is supposed to be the game of the week, apparently. The site has it showing differently, but I'm not a big fan of trusting the site. So South Park being favored, but by a very small margin. Who is Baltimore playing? The football team. And is Mozart back? He's in the starting lineup.
Oh, yeah, he'll have to take him. There's a very low probability he plays this week. It's like 10, 20% at best.
This is against the Eagles.
The Eagles suck, but it's their pass defense that is bad on the defense.
Yeah, their rush defense. Their rush defense is pretty good. Russell Gage, I'm not sure he's going to play either. Huh. I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson. I'm going to say that South Park, based solely on Lamar Jackson. Right now.
I am also doing it not just solely on Lamar Jackson, but also on Pete Carroll, who I think is just going to destroy Miami and put up like 30 points for South Park. Whereas no one should be starting Mike Zimmer. Minnesota is real bad. There's got to be someone better on free agency. I see that Belichick is up against KC, and I guess that's why you're doing it. But there's still got to be a better backup option than. So yeah, I agree with South Park on this one.
All right, sounds good. Next game.
We've got Malibu favored by 7 against Jersey.
7 against Jersey. Okay, is this the game that Jersey breaks out of the funk? Is the question, but it's a tough team to do it against if that's going to be the game to do it.
Yeah, I mean 3-0 Malibu, 0-3 Jersey, and only a 7-point stretch. The default here is just going to say, yeah, Malibu. You look at their lineup; it's hard to go against them.
Yeah.
I mean, Lazard has a good chance against Atlanta's secondary with Devontae still out. Darius Slayton's probably going to get shut down by what's-his-face on the Rams, so that's not promising. But the rest of them all look to have pretty good matchups. Kenyon Drake against Carolina, James Robinson against Cincinnati. These are good plays here. Look on the other side, and while there are better players, like Terry McLaurin's going up against Baltimore. That's going to be tough. Jamison Crowder, I don't even know, is he playing?
They're going up against the 49ers if he is playing.
I think he's still injured this week, but I think he'll be back next week, but we'll see. It's not like there are a lot of options on his bench that are going to be better. So 3-0, like this is, I feel like I'm crazy doing this, but I think Jersey's first win, and thankfully I got 7 points to help me out too, but I think they're going to turn it around against one of the better teams in the league. And I'm going to take
nice. I was actually thinking of taking Jersey for that same reason, that this will be the week to turn around. But I'm gonna choose to differ it, so we have something a little different here. And I'll take
Well, I
Malibu.
mean, Kyler Murray against Carolina is just going to dominate. So that's Chris
Yeah,
Carson
that'll
against
help.
Miami. So, like, there's some good matchups there too.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
going to be a high-scoring game overall, and I'm going to feel real bad if Jersey scores like 210 points and
I
loses
know.
again.
I'm kind of rooting for them, even though I picked against them. But all right. So what's next?
Philly by 17 against Oakland.
All right. So this is an interesting game because there's some ramifications here. Do we know if it's confirmed yet that Titans Steelers game? It is happening. It is confirmed now.
I don't know if it's confirmed, but there was some tweet about like the networks getting notice to prepare for a Monday night game.
Yeah. So I mean that, like, I'm picking myself, but it would have been affected because I wouldn't be able to start Derrick Henry, but it would have been worse for Oakland because they have a lot of players on Pittsburgh and the Titans, where currently sitting there in the starting lineup. I don't know if he already adjusted for it. But Juju Smith-Schuster kind of balances off what I'd lose with Henry, and then he's got Devin Bush, and he's got a couple other players on his bench, and I guess he's not starting them now. But I remember seeing this as I feel like they're going to be affected worse than me if that happens. But if they play, all good. I'm going to take the Pigeon Boys.
Yeah, this is the best team in the league versus, based on projections, one of the worst teams in the league. I don't think 17 is enough, and I am also picking Pigeon Boys here.
All right. Rooting for Jam. I like it. Let's see.
So next up we have
Jersey go. Yes, sorry, I forgot to put that up. I agree.
Chicago. What? I'm always looking at things. I don't know what's going up.
Sorry.
Chicago up by 11 against Houston.
Ooh, interesting. Chicago's been an interesting team.
Chicago's been an unpredictable team.
Yeah. It's been really hard to predict. I guess you're picking first here, right?
I am.
All right. Let me look at these teams while you're picking. Oof. It's an interesting game.
What is Chicago? Chicago is favored by 11?
Yes, and the website has Chicago favored by like a lot more, but by like 30-ish or 28-ish.
I mean, it's concerning that Jordan Howard is in the lineup for Houston.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I don't even know like what Jordan Howard's role is really right now.
No, like the whole Miami backfield is just chaotic at the moment.
Cam is going up against the Chiefs, whose defenses actually look really good. Like they made Lamar Jackson, who's at this point in his career far more mobile than Cam Newton, look really bad.
When in doubt, look at the coaches. Ooh, I don't think either.
Nagy.
Well, LaFleur will get some points for Houston. Nagy's not getting anything.
No.
I mean, Chicago is 3-0. Maybe I should stop just assuming that. But
and then if we're going by the second half when Big Dick Nick showed up and
it's true.
led that comeback. Who knows what Chicago's going to do now?
It is true.
Who are they playing?
Jack Del Rio is probably the worst possible option at defensive coordinator.
I know.
Like against Baltimore, that is not good.
John, Dan, I hope you have someone else on your bench. That is not a good option to have a defensive coordinator. That's just, you might as well just give up.
The defensive coordinator for Houston isn't much better. They're using Minnesota, who has been just awful so far.
Yeah.
This is a tough one. I mean, Dallas Goedert is currently starting for Houston. He's on the IR.
Yeah. As Chris has noted. I assume they're going to swap him out.
Yeah, this is, I guess, N'Keal Harry comes in. This is, I think these two teams are basically dead even, so I'm going to go with the side that gives me the extra points, and I'll take Houston.
All right, interesting. I will take Chicago in this. Similarly, that it's pretty even, but this is a hard one to pick. Like it really depends on how some of these games go. So yeah, but that's going to be a tough one. But at least we got some more disagreement this week. All right, what's next?
Hollywood by 35.
Ooh, interesting.
Who are they beating? Oh, San Antonio.
Ooh, okay. I'm not gonna overthink this. I think that Hollywood will cover that.
I think the running backs alone will cover it.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. Like, it's just
San
Antonio's just in the bad spot.
Yeah, I agree. Hollywood's going to cover 35 points.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Scranton favored by 12 over San Diego.
Okay.
Chris Godwin's still out, I believe, this week. So, good luck there.
Is he? Jeez. I didn't have much luck with Chris Godwin.
Maybe am I mixing him up? Like, I have a bunch of these players in. Did not practice on Wednesday. May miss 2 games. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
What happened to him in that game? Because he scored a touchdown in that game.
Hamstring pull.
Oh, hamstring.
Yeah, so he's not going to be playing. So, given that, by 12 points, huh? Prescott's probably going to beat up on Cleveland. Sean Payton will get some good points against Detroit. I'm still going with Scranton.
Scranton?
Yeah.
And Scranton had the 12-point advantage. Huh. Yeah. It's hard not to go with Scranton in this one.
Yeah, that's all right. Washington, 4-point favorites against my team.
Washington against Willamette.
Willamette.
Pronouncing that wrong. Willamette Valley Coopers. So you're sorry. Who? Washington favored?
Washington is favored by 4.
Interesting. I haven't seen a whole lot of Washington that I've been crazy about. Again, because
Pat Mahomes.
Pat Mahomes, but like a lot of starting quality running backs that you can't start all of them. But close, projected to be a small window there. Let me see.
I currently have Michael Thomas in my lineup, hoping he plays, but he's genuinely like questionable this week.
Yeah. There's a chance he's back this weekend.
There's a chance. It's better than some of the other guys we've been talking about, but it's still like coin flip sort of thing.
Well, I'm hoping your coach doesn't do well, but it feels like he will. Really hoping, though. Really hoping. It would be wonderful to. I liked what I saw out of Mike Davis. I mean, he's not great, but again, points. And Antonio, I think it's good for you that Antonio Gibson has kind of carved out that role. It seems like he's that guy.
I mean, if it weren't for the 2 horrible season-ending injuries, my strategy was
it was okay.
Points out of my running backs. It's just, Michael Thomas decided to get hurt. Odell Beckham, which is on me for thinking he would be better than he is, but he's not. As a strategy, though, it was fine. I just picked the wrong players and had some bad injury luck.
Pat Mahomes. And, what else? I'm going with you.
I'm also going with me.
All right, so 0 is down. Washington was favored, right?
Sorry?
Washington was favored.
By 4, yeah.
Okay. And last game.
Vegas by 7 over Enniscorthy. Mark's team has played well, and I expect that to continue.
The most annoying one to pick because, I'm looking at the team. I'm like, I'm not sure. Well, yeah.
It's hard to go up against Russell Wilson and Alvin Kamara, but, they can't always get, 80 points between them every week.
Well, Kamara's playing the Lions.
Wilson is playing the Dolphins.
Yeah, holy shit.
I'm still going to go with Mark's team. I like what I've seen so far. And the fact that Vegas is favored by 7 just makes it easier.
Okay. I think I'm going to go with Vegas, just banking on the laurels of 3 big players. Kamara, Wilson, and Mike Evans. I'll give a shout out to Denver there. So you're going, and it's Corthy. I'm going with Vegas. All right. Lock and shoe in.
So you picked this one first last week.
There you go. So you got it.
So I am making your team my lock of the week.
Right. Fuck. That's what I was going to do. But I think I got a good one, and I'm going to make Hollywood my shoe in.
That's a big point spread, but they've got a.
Feels like that one. I was pondering on South Park as well, but I feel like San Antonio's just been decimated. There's nothing else there to get points.
I think my second option would have been Mark's team. I think Ennis Corthy. I think they easily win, and then Las Vegas was given the advantage here.
Really interesting. But, I really thought that the matchups that Denver's top players have would really give them an advantage. But I guess that is a few teams.
Playing a terrible team like Miami is not necessarily a good thing for Russell Wilson, because it means sooner or later they're just going to stop throwing the ball. You want a bad defense with a good offense. That's your ideal quarterback situation, because then you're going to get a shootout, score a bunch of points. But Miami, he could throw maybe 2 touchdowns and just run the ball from there on out. Who knows, though? But, yeah, I'm really believing in Ennis Corthy this week, and still making you my lock of the week, but that would be my backup.
All right. Okay. So I think we've covered Ben Wyatt. Anything else to bring up before we officially rebrand to FOMFA?
May the rebranding begin.
Let us rebrand. Bam. There it is. Just like that. We're officially. Oh, what did I do? We're officially on FOMFA. All right. So let me take a moment to switch over to week 3. What did you think of week 3 overall before we get into the results with FOMFA? It's obviously a different type of league where some teams have you know which teams are top, which teams are bottoming out.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand your question. I think
did you have any impressions over week 3, like 3 weeks into how this league is going? Obviously the big stories are still Jason versus Phil, but the biggest story being the craziness that's going on in Ryan's division, Khalil David.
We talk about that one a lot, but mostly this is going based on predictions. Wario's destroying everyone. I'm having a good season. Cloud to ground, Ron Mexico, 100% cotton, turned down for a while, all 2-1, all battling here. In fact, the interesting thing of how much is going according to predictions, the only losses any of the 4 or 5 good teams in the Global Conference took were against each other.
Yeah,
there wasn't a single maybe
big surprise.
They show up and shock someone. Not once in the 3 weeks so far. The only one win that happened was when Luis played Death Valley, so he got a win out of that. So everything's sort of going according to plan. The interesting thing, in my view, is Team Marines 3-0.
Yeah. This is I love this division that I'm in. Even when I like it a lot better when I'm not competing. Apparently, because they went 3 they're 3-0, but on okay performances so far. I think this is still a very tight division.
It's going to be an interesting division. The challenge for Team Marines is their team hasn't actually been that good. They've won the game, but it hasn't been on dominating performances. They're in the bottom half of the league in terms of scoring, but are 3-0. Now, it's still a huge advantage because Colorado has a great team when everyone is playing. But as we've discussed, as soon as the bye weeks come, as soon as injuries come, they're in a lot of trouble. So what Colorado needed to do was basically be that 3-0 team coming out of this.
Yeah. Take the big wins up front.
And then knowing they're going to rack up some losses in the middle of the season, and then hope everyone's healthy for the playoffs so they can then make a run. But coming out of the 3 weeks with no buys and not being in first place, despite by far having the most points scored in this conference, that's going to hurt them.
Yeah. Colorado took a loss to Turret Rocks, I guess. Can't remember who they took a loss to. No, Marines. Sorry, they took a loss.
Yeah, if Marines is 3-0, then yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay, shall we get into the results then? I got Jayville versus Sandwich as the first game. Is that what you got?
I'm gradually making my way over to week 2 results. Yeah, Jayville Sandwich.
Jayville actually off to a decent start too, 2-1 in that division. The wild card competition will be. Well, I mean, is that the one where the wild card is against the 3-headed monster in Khalil, Ryan, and David?
Sorry?
No. Jayville is wild.
The thing is, they're supposed to be 2-1 because the first 3 games are divisional. They lost their game to Wario and then beat the rebuilding team Sandwich and the rebuilding team Fantasy FF Village or whatever. So,
it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell what Derek's doing.
But being 2-1 isn't unsurprising. The thing is, they're probably competing for the wild card. It's going to be real difficult to unseat Wario here. Yeah. And in order to do so, it means that they're going to need to win a lot of the games outside of their conference too. So we'll see how that goes. And this week, they've got a hard matchup against 100% Cotton.
Mm-hmm.
That's not good. Good news for them is within their division, Wario is playing me. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge.
If you're able to beat Wario, it'll help them.
And really, all the competing teams in this conference are playing tough matchups on the other side. Colorado is playing Ron Mexico, and Team Marines is playing Cloud to Ground. So it's not like there's any easy wins coming for any of these teams that are in competition for the division lead or the wild card. Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting how this wild card plays out. I think Jayville's like a dark horse in that, where I thought that for sure it'd be coming out of Woodson. So obviously they won the game handily. Chris Perkins, Year of the Sandwich is rebuilding. I don't know if there were any big. I guess one big performance on the bench was Hunter Renfro, but I don't think he would be starting Hunter Renfro.
Yeah, you can't expect that. And I mean, the difficulty, the challenge here is you look and I look at this roster and I don't see a playoff team. I look at Ronald Jones and David Montgomery as the starting running backs. I see O.J. Howard in at tight end, Keelan Cole's in at wide receiver, and I don't think, maybe I'm wrong here, maybe there's been some major injuries, but I don't think there has been any on Jayville's part.
No, not really.
Yeah,
James White hasn't played for the personal reasons.
Yeah, and he'll be back, but it's still like that's not an elite running back or anything. That's someone who'll get you some points. But so getting the win with 165 points, it's like good work. It's a win. You know, you want that. But Justin Herbert's starting at quarterback. They're like, this is not a team that looks like it is currently contending. The reason we have discussed it as a contender previously is just the sheer how terrible the division is.
Yeah.
And I think what it's going to come down to, given Team Marines' hot start, is I think it's going to come down to just how injured Colorado gets. If they can sort of survive things and deal with the bye weeks, then they'll be in the playoffs. They'll be fine. But there's a chance that even like 2 key injuries, and all of a sudden they turn from contenders to like one of the easiest teams to beat up on in the league. Yeah. So, I think Jayville's fortunes are less about them and more about Colorado.
Yeah, which I like you, Israel, but I'm rooting for that downfall. You got your pick. So, do I have his pick? Actually, no. I got Turret Rock's pick from him, so he didn't have his own pick.
Well, Turret Rocks has not been looking good, so you're doing well.
I don't know. Like we said, and Ben Wyatt, Mark seems to put together teams that eventually pull it out. We'll see.
Well, usually Mark puts together teams that the projections don't like, but then he just goes a dominate at the gate. He has not been dominating.
Yeah,
and came against a team that's just also really bad. Oh, that's you.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I'm supposed to be bad. I got nothing against that. It's really kind of annoying because Mark was kind of like the thorn in my side the last 2 years, and when I start rebuilding is when his team takes a dive, and so does Chris. Chris's team just gives up. Like I could have easily made the playoffs with the team that I had in the competition that's going on now. I don't think I'd do anything. Like it definitely wasn't.
No, you would have been eliminated by Wario immediately.
Yeah, and it was one of those things too, where like a single injury would be very similar to Colorado. Like a single injury would just blow everything up. I didn't really have anything to go on. So, anyways, Jabil wins. I don't think there's anything really to bring up on your Sandwiches team. He's looking to lose, and he was successful in that effort. I'm wondering if he'd made any dumb start decisions though. I think it was a few weeks where he was like leaving people on his bench. Like I think he left Stephon Diggs on his bench a few times for like no real reason. Like it's potential points. It's not going to help your draft position.
Well, the good news is JJ Arcega-Whiteside is on his bench this time with the 0 points rather than starting to get 0 points. There's no one on this bench that I see where it's like, why the hell aren't they in the lineup? I mean, Fitzpatrick outperformed Minshew, but like Minshew was coming off a few good games, and that was a bit of a surprise how poorly he did against. I think it was against Miami. I think those two faced each other. So, I think the starting lineup made sense. It's just, they didn't do anything. So
we the spread was Jayville by 30.
Mm-hmm. A lot.
And we both said that Sandwich would cover that, but lose.
They did not quite cover. They did. It wasn't too far off. It was
close,
or something, but it's zeros for us, I guess.
Zeros for us. All right. Let's move on to Hokage versus Wario. Is that the next game on your list?
That is correct.
There we go. All right. So Wario continuing to look like a very good team. Put up a huge effort. Was this team of the week? No, David was team of the week. All right.
I was team of the week.
Oh, you were team of the. Oh yeah, you were team of the week with almost 300.
Oh yeah, Andrews didn't do anything, but there's a potential of getting 300.
But big. But still, comparatively, your team aside, big ass performance.
Yeah.
Jared Goff had a big performance. Wario just made that trade with me for Jared Goff, and made the nice decision to start him. Nick Chubb, this is just big, double digits almost across the board, outside of a poor performance from Everson Griffin and Kenny Vaccaro.
0 is pretty shameful.
Did he start? Did he play DeMarcus Robinson? That's rough.
Yeah, he played. There's a note on him: fails to reel in lone target.
Lone target.
So just played, just got a 0.
I suppose that was the effect of AJ Brown being hurt, but I would have gone Mecole Hardman even without, I know hindsight's to be considered, but I think I would have gone with Mecole Hardman.
Yeah, Mecole Hardman always had more upside. I think Robinson was getting a few more targets in the first couple of weeks, so I think that's why he came in there. But the upside of Robinson is basically what he did in the first few weeks of he got targeted 6 times, 4 times, not getting much there. Whereas Mecole Hardman, just one pass and he can break out. So I think that one was definitely a surprising one.
Mm-hmm.
You can't blame him for not starting Gabriel Davis. Mecole Hardman is shocking. I probably wouldn't have actually started Hardman though. I might have gone Scott Miller.
Scott Miller's been good.
But even with Evans and Godwin were both back, but Brady has really liked targeting Scott Miller.
He has. And I think Scott Miller had, if I recall correctly, a couple drops or a couple close passes that could have been big points that he just didn't make.
Well, he definitely missed 2 apparently, but I don't remember watching and seeing what those were. But a lot of points on the bench for Wario's defense here.
Oh, yeah.
It's not choosing Everson Griffin over Yannick Ngakoue. Griffin's coming off a good game against the Falcons. The Seahawks offensive line is not amazing. Yannick Ngakoue, who are they going up against? The Titans. I can sort of see what was this decision. It worked out, but I get it. Good news for Hokage. Nick Foles, baby.
Yeah, there you go. Look at that. Twos. Two.
Yeah, that's basically.
He's gonna. Well, I mean, like I'm assuming. Oh, let's see. I mean, Joe Burrow's looked good. And who's Joe Burrow playing this week? The Jags. So let's see who he goes with. But again, it was a little bit questionable what exactly this team is because he spent big money on some free agents. But
yeah, the Jags passing defense is terrible. You got to go Burrow in that one.
Yeah. But yeah, no surprise here. Wario takes it. Big ass win though.
I don't know what the spread was though. Like
it wasn't big. It was 18.
Oh wow. Okay.
And you had and I chose the Oakage to cover that, so I get a 0 there. You picked Wario.
And I didn't make it my lock. I would have thought that I would have made that.
No, that wasn't your lock.
Oh, well, okay, I don't know what my lock was. I remember a game where I made a bold decision that didn't quite pay out, but came close. But you're up next against Colorado here.
All right, so no real point talking too much about this one. My team. I'm just curious if I'll break like 150 at some point. I like the one thing that I'll note about I mean I was always going to lose, and Colorado had a big ass game as well. Russell Wilson destroying it, Derrick Henry and James Conner having good games, and Aaron Jones. So he's going with the 3 running back situation. But I guess Russell Gage did get hurt. He's been pretty good overall, but he did get hurt. Alan Lazard, good performances out of this team. Ones that I would point out for my team was I was very happy to see Brandon Ayuk at 19 points. He's part of my future plans. Same with Brian Burns, part of my future plans as well. And I think Montez Sweat, depending on what happens with Chase Young, he's looked pretty good regardless. But yeah, pleased with some of these young guys. Jeremy Chin too. Jeremy Chin's looked good like every single game. So that's all I can really root for and hope for is watching these young guys that I have. And once Alshon Jeffrey's back, I'm just gonna go birds on this because I'll start them both, Deshaun Jackson and Alshon.
Yeah, Jeremy Chin is a player that I'm gonna keep watching largely because I was thinking about making a trade up to get him. I forget who it was with, but there's some negotiation going on. And I had an opportunity, and my pick was like 5 picks later or something, maybe even 4 picks later. But I didn't like how much it was to give up for him, and I'm like, he might fall to me, so I just won't do it. And worst case scenario, I'll take Antoine Winfield. I don't really at first I really wanted Chin, but the more I looked into it, I'm like, this might be a toss up anyway. I'm not sure who I get.
They looked close.
I didn't make the trade. Chin actually was drafted in that time, but Antoine Winfield has been, I think, one of the top safeties in the league so far.
Yeah, they both look really good. So
now, I don't know making the predictions in terms of safeties for this site. I think they use I forget what site they use, but it is actually kind of remarkable because I remember in what's the name of that Chargers safety, Derwin James?
Yeah.
In Derwin James' rookie season, they projected him to be the number 1 overall safety. And I'm like, yeah, that's just crazy. And then he went and was the number 1 overall safety. And then this year, it was also projecting Winfield to be the number 1 overall safety. And it's like, that's also crazy. But, I have to hope. But so far, he's very close, if not the number 1 safety. So whoever that is deserves a raise because I would have never thought either of those.
I think I looked at the same site. I can't recall what it was called, but I remember seeing both Winfield and Chin very high on that list, thinking that's pretty high for.
That's aggressive.
Yeah, that's aggressive for rookies, but both performing very well.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I don't. Is there anything else you want to talk about in this game? I mean,
just please tell me I didn't choose you to cover. I don't know what that was, but.
The spread was, let's see. The spread was Colorado by 30.
Oh,
we both said that Colorado would cover.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
Neither of us made that the lock, though.
No.
Wow. Okay.
I'm surprised because myself I haven't gone against myself as a lock every week.
And Colorado's team still looks good until it doesn't. But for now, it's. Well,
all right.
We got it right, but we didn't get the lock.
Okay.
Turt Rocks and Team Marines.
Team Marines and Turt Rocks. This was an interesting game. Like Turt Rocks, like you said, has not been good. I mean, interesting in the sense that because I'm used to seeing Turt Rocks do so well, the branding change might be hurting them a little bit here. Stankanovitz.
Benny Snell and Joshua Kelly are what's hurting him.
Yeah, this is rough.
The branding, I think it's the running backs.
It used to be that he had questionable defense, and it was like, all right, but he made up for it on his offense in past teams. But this running back situation is not good.
Yeah.
Like, who do you choose? Like, look at the running back on his bench. It's not like he made any bad decisions.
This is one of those ones where it was interesting what Mark did in the draft, because he had an opportunity to draft running backs, and he just kept trading down in the draft, picking up some extra capital, but not getting a chance to get a running back. And it's hurting him. Then again, it's not like having Akers would help him either. So.
That's true. So yeah, Team Marines takes it. But again, like we said, Team Marines takes it with 164.4 points. Not massive performances out of Team Marines guys. He just kind of took it on a bad performance by Turt Rocks. Yeah, and out of the I've always sort of considered Marines and Jayville. Like, I've thought of them as similar teams going into this year. That they weren't strong, but they were strong enough to contend. As the season goes on, I don't think Marines deserves to be 3-0, and we've talked about that based on points scored and everything. But I think their team is stronger than Jayville, and getting out to that 3-0 lead, I think, is going to be helps. Yeah, that's pretty really help. Yeah. In terms of start decisions, Team Marines is sitting at 70%, but like a lot of that is due to Rex Burkhead and Greg Ward, who I don't believe he would have considered starting, considering who he did start, who've all been doing fairly well. Jeff Okudah, maybe, but it's hard to say on a rookie cornerback.
Yeah, it's a corner who, up to that point, done nothing.
So it is what it is. I don't think any start decisions on Turt Rock's side would have really flipped things. You got 77.7% efficiency ratings.
Yeah, on Turt Rock's side, I think it would have Mo Alley Cox being on the bench after a good week.
Yeah,
it's maybe he's not what you would think, but Drew Sample, the option instead. I guess he's coming off a good week too as well, so I can't blame him too much. I would have made the opposite decision, but it could have easily just as gone Sample's way.
Yeah, clearly I'm not valuing these guys well enough, because what did he pay Drew Sample?
Probably not much. Oh no,
1.85. Okay, yeah, I was not paying Drew Sample 1.85, but I bid for Drew Sample and Mo Alley Cox, and he outbid me for
$4 million or whatever that Alley Cox got.
Yeah, but I'm surprised because he got Mo Alley Cox in the other league and started him, and Mo Alley Cox looked like the guy who had the better opportunities. Drew Sample did look good though, and it's looking like Joe Burrows likes throwing to his tight ends, because Uzoma was, for the first time in his career, looking really, really good as a fantasy producer.
That's a good point. In week 1, it was all tight ends. In week 2, 7 catches on 9 targets. And then just all of a sudden last week, it's like, you know what? Maybe I won't throw my tight end.
let me stretch it out. Let's see who else.
Which is also actually surprising, because against the Eagles, we have the one thing we have on in our secondary is a good corner to deal with AJ Brown.
AJ Green.
AJ Green. The rest of the team, not great. And Nate Gary is maybe the worst starting defensive player in the NFL.
He gets points. I like Nate Gary.
He might get points, but he's just
no. He's not good for the goal of winning NFL games.
Just watching him is just as offensive as watching Wentz. Like, he is the Wentz equivalent on the defense to just make you angry. He's theoretically going to be at least partially responsible for tight end coverage, and they didn't go to him. I mean, I think they went to Tyler Boyd a lot, which out of the slot, I think, and that sort of helped them out. So
yeah, I think Tyler Boyd had a nice game for David. All right, so in terms of picks, Marine was favored by 7. You took Marines. I said Turt Rock would cover that. So point for you, 0 for me. You're doing well on points this year, by the way. I think
especially in this league. This league, I'm getting a better sense of what's going on.
Yeah. You're putting the whipping on. I gotta step up my game. All right, moving on. We got Lucas Shies versus you, right?
Yeah, yes. I hope I made myself my lock of the week because god damn, I killed this
Woo! Good lord. Okay, so in the other league, we had a 98-point deficit. You had this. You had what, a 97-point deficit? No, 98.
98 as well.
98 points, except for your opponent scored 180 points. And the other one was Chicago scoring 102. So you're like, yeah, you can see that, but holy shit. And a very efficient 277 points, 89.9% on your efficiency ratings. No real argument on any of your start decisions. Kenny Golladay was questionable up until basically the game started, as you had mentioned, right?
Here's my favorite part of this, though. And I could only gloat about my team for so long before it becomes annoying. But
gloat away, man.
Starters aside, my bench would have beaten a lot of different teams this week.
172 points on your bench would have, we've already got, has there been a team we've gone through that you wouldn't have beaten? Yeah, there's a couple.
Yeah, there's a few, but I mean,
you would have beaten Turret Rocks, even if Turret Rocks got their potential points.
Well, this isn't tracks. I am almost certain if I go back and look at the top scoring teams in more detail, the starter plus non-starter total of almost 450 points
shit.
Has to be the highest of all time.
My God. That is big. Your bench went nuts too.
Yeah, everyone just showed up this week. It would be nice if they saved it for some other week.
Yeah, this is kind of what I was thinking of David's game last week, because he had a massive game, and I'm like, you would have needed that against Khalil. He ended up beating Khalil, as we get into later, but I was like, he did that against Fort Myers. You kind of want your guys to show up when they need to show up.
Yeah, either someone save some points for later, or maybe this game could have happened against not Luis. But whatever, it is what it is. I'm happy with the win. I'm happy with the performance.
Yeah, for the direction that Luis is going in, by the way.
180 is not bad.
Yeah, he did note earlier, I forgot to put this up. Stop being better at tanking than me. You just have to learn how to suck, man. It's not that bad. And he's watching and is not really enjoying this conversation. That's fun. Quite the beating. I don't know how much more we need to get into how well your team did.
If only I had Kamara still.
You would have broke 300. But Lucas Shies would have beaten a lot of teams this week.
Yeah,
actually had a really good game. It's just he wasn't going to beat your team. Big game from Aaron Rodgers. And again, like we mentioned in the other league about Antonio Gibson, which was his weakness at running back, did okay for him. But yeah, good game. Surprised about Marquez Valdez-Scantling, because I thought that this was starting to turn in his direction finally.
Yeah, I mean, especially as the number 2 with Devontae Adams out, you would think he would get more than one catch.
But if I recall correctly, he was dropping too.
Yeah, he was targeted 4 times and he only caught one of them.
Yeah, so there's only so much patience Aaron Rodgers has.
Yeah, the eye rolls come early.
Yeah. He's like, I'm not throwing to you anymore. Anyways, see how we did on these picks. You were favored by 37.
That's it.
We both picked you to win, and I think I picked shoe-in first because I insta-picked you to be a shoe-in. Because I was fairly certain this would be beat-down type game. So, hey, at least I got that point going my way. But I do think you got your point as we'll move forward. Next up, we got I've got Death Valley versus Cloud to Ground. Is that next?
Yeah, and I have to assume at this point this must have been my lock of the week, but I guess we'll see.
This was your lock of the week, and I would gander it to be safe. I thought that you had the biggest win differential, but turns out you didn't.
Nope.
Death Valley, but I mean, again, Death Valley is a rebuilding team. Didn't expect to do much, but nobody did anything on this team. At least I had some guys that I'm rooting for that showed up. But holy shit, not a good game. And this is Chris is the guy that has Cam Akers that he got in that trade with Cloud to Ground. DeAndre Swift and Cam Akers for who was it that he moved? I forget now.
I don't know.
George Kittle and someone else. So it was a big.
Godwin.
Oh, Chris Godwin. Yeah. But anyways, Pat Mahomes, 48 points. Alvin Kamara, 40 points. Those two players have already gotten pretty close to misses.
Are these two on the same team? No, it's Russell Wilson and Alvin Kamara in the other league.
Yes.
Those two are all your points. And
yeah,
that's sort of what happened to Jason here. Like Jacobs, after looking real good week 1, looking good, but then not doing anything in week 2. Once again, I mean, he was efficient, but the Raiders just don't seem to care. They would rather. Well, I guess they had a lot of catching up to do against the Patriots, so they didn't.
He had a fumble too, which doesn't help. Joe Mixon has had kind of hasn't been doing what. What's that, sir?
He has not looked good this.
He has not looked good.
And I mean, this has been a case. Like Joe Mixon always is like, you're an elite running back, and you remember having him last year, and you look at his stats at the beginning of last year. Even worse, he was just brutal. And then after the bye, he came back and just was one of the best backs in the league.
Yeah.
But now, and everyone was thinking, okay, well, he's finally doing well, and he's got a new, better quarterback. This is going to be the year. But maybe people just have to start accepting Joe Mixon might not be that first-round running back that everyone thinks he is.
If that's the case, then I sold at the right time. I do recall that when I was last year, I was shopping him almost all year just to see what kind of value I'd get. I had a very specific ask of 2 first-rounders at the very least because that's what I paid for him, and got like nothing until very close to the trade deadline, to the point where it's just like he's just not worth that. And I was like, I can't disagree. So maybe that's that. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. Maybe he'll do his turnaround.
It's quite possible, but I mean, at some point, like I'm not going to be drafting him in the first going forward.
All right, sorry, I missed this question from Luis. Let me look it up. What is accuracy? Your efficiency? I assume you mean efficiency rating, 79.5. So not bad. The biggest losses was having Randall Cobb on your bench, which, like, I don't think you were thinking of starting Randall Cobb. And what's that?
Dante Jackson over
Dante Jackson.
That Jordan Fuller got him would have.
There you go. So those were the 2 big ones that impacted Luis. All right. So Death Valley versus Cloud to Ground. Anything else to say here? I mean, Cloud to Ground whooped his ass.
Let's talk. Let's see what our picks were. Or I think we know what our picks were.
The spread on this one was Cloud to Ground by 30. I think we both instantly said Cloud to Ground would win, and you made it your lock. So there you go. Okay, let's move on to Cotton versus Fort Myers, which ended up being more interesting than it should have been.
Hey, I remember saying that I was going to take Fort Myers with that spread but I don't think the spread was enough. I don't remember what it was, but hell of a game by Fort Myers.
Yeah.
Cyril's team is better than he thinks it is.
Yeah, like is Cyril, like I'm not sure, like is Cyril just thinking he's fully committed to rebuild because his team is performing. Like Kyler Murray's looked great. Dale Henderson is the guy now. James Robinson, like you said in the other league, and what he's being paid in this league is definitely the most valuable player. $350 a contract year through 2022. This is like, and these are young guys that are doing pretty well for him, like that are performing.
Here's what I think is actually one of, if not the most interesting stat of the season so far. Through 3 games, Cyril's team has only scored 24 fewer points than Khalil's team.
Wow, that's insane.
Khalil's team is 2-1, but has only scored 566 points. They are currently 7th in terms of points scored. Now, he has a lot of depth, and I think he'll improve on the starters and stuff. But it's interesting to look at how similar the performance of Khalil and Cyril's teams have been. But the records have been exactly what was expected, even if the points haven't been, where Khalil's gone 2-1. Well, Khalil's gone 0-3. But I know Cyril or Khalil won that really tight game on that score correction against Ryan.
Whew, yeah, that was real tight.
And then he's won this game against against Cyril, where it's like, yeah, he won, but Cotton was playing Cyril this week. I guess it was the game against David in week. Was it last week, or I'm trying to figure out where? Or I guess it was against Cyril's team. Win. I just don't remember what the score was, but I guess
David had it was another one of those things where David had a monster week when he beat Cyril, but Cyril had a good game. Like if David's team didn't show up the way he did, he would have lost to Cyril.
Oh, Cyril in week 1 played turned down for Watt.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And turned down for Watt didn't have a great game. They just sort of won.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the situation of what's happened here and what's led to the 2-1. Interestingly, if they had him play like Cyril's score in week 2 versus Khalil in week 1, would have been a difference of 0.09. That would have been getting some close ones in this.
He's going to play spoiler. He's going to play spoiler to quite a few people.
Especially, I expect Preston Wilson to get a little better. I mean, Darren Waller getting 2.63 is unfathomable.
Yeah, he's been incredible.
0.9. Like, if Deontay Johnson didn't get hurt, this game would have been even closer. And it would have been interesting. But it's still looking good for Ryan. Ryan's team currently is 3rd in the league in points scored. So it was a great turnaround for him, because I remember going into the season thinking, yeah, I know Ryan's planning on competing, but this team ain't competing for shit. And then he went, and I guess I don't know if he was offended or bored or what, promoted his whole team into one that looks really good now.
Well, he was very slick about his moves. Like he was very consistently making plays, and definitely it's paying off. I missed this comment from Luis. One day. When will that one day be, when Luis is back to being your key rival?
I don't know. I think it's got to be Jason for a while at this point.
Yeah, Jason's made a big push. All right, so in terms of these picks, I think this was an interesting one. Cotton favored by 24.
Oh, damn it.
No, well, you said that they wouldn't cover, yeah.
And it was 25.98. 25.98. Fuck. And I remember picking that and thinking this is a bold call, but I'm feeling good about it. Damn it. That was real close.
Yeah, that was real close. All right. Moving on to the best game of the week, I think, right?
On
Mexico's actually what I thought would be the best game of the week, but this was a weirdly a do or die game for Raw Mexico
of the week, and then Khalil's team just didn't really show up.
Yeah, so Raw Mexico versus Turn Down for Watt. I know that we were saying this in the projections that this was a pretty key game for David, because the way that Ryan's team's look and the way that Khalil's team's look, and he almost needs this to stay in the race. And so I'll be very excited to see the projections right after we're done with this. But what did you think of this game?
It was interesting to see what David's team did here, because they came up with a great score, despite Devontae Freeman coming up with 1 point, despite John Brown coming up with 0 points. But, John Johnson, good game at safety for him. Jake Elliott had a hell of a game kicking the ball, and most importantly, Tyler Lockett, a great receiver to all of you naysayers out there.
I don't get it. I don't get why people don't like him.
I'm not listening either, but yeah,
he's 27. he's also young,
and even with Wilson not really throwing the ball last year when he wasn't injured, he was one of the receivers in the league during that stretch.
I will continue to harp that $20 million was a steal for him, and $13 million was a super steal for him in the other league. But seems to be people don't seem to believe that.
So David has really we give him shit a lot, and it's a good thing that he actually really paid some attention and realized, you know what, let's trade Russell Wilson. I mean, Russell Wilson has been fantastic, but that reduction of payroll allowed him to get, well, initially Devontae Parker, but that's into Tyler Lockett.
It turned into Tyler Lockett, yeah.
And this is sort of a lesson for Ben Wyatt. Josh Allen plus Tyler Lockett is much better than Josh Allen or Russell Wilson with Josh Allen on your bench.
Exactly. It's a good comparator. And also like that there was Tyler Lockett and John Johnson in that deal. I mean, it was a first as well, but like the moves that he made has like it's still a volatile team but he's been able to survive some key injuries and got this really, really, really key win with Michael Thomas and Christian McCaffrey down.
Imagine dealing with, once CMC comes back, Christian McCaffrey, Michael Thomas, Tyler Lockett, and Josh Allen. That is and then Tyler Boyd, like he's not quite in the same tier, but that is terrible. I don't want to do that. Raheem Mostert is also going to come back at some point, and he's looked amazing so far this year. David's team at full health, it pains me to say this, but at full health, his team is as good as any in the league.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And he's got some okay depth behind him now by kind of signing the guys that are covering that those injuries. And he hasn't had, like, he's luckily not had any of his guys get the season enders that a lot of the big players got. Like Raheem Mostert will be back, Michael Thomas will be back, and Christian McCaffrey will be back. Yeah. And probably in the next few weeks.
McCaffrey will be a few more weeks, but yeah, Thomas and Mostert will be back either this week or next week for both of them. So come playoffs, if everyone else can stay healthy, David's going to be dangerous. Yeah, I mean, the only thing that gives me some comfort here is knowing that David's never going to listen to this podcast, so he will never know what I've said about his team.
He'll know that we really talked him up. I don't know. I'm rooting for my guy. I hope he gets just because like it is a little bit annoying that David has been done so much better in this than I have.
Well, he inherited a better team,
and I've been paying so much more attention and learning so much more about it. But it is what it is. Good on you, David. Anyways, let's see. On Khalil's team. I mean, the big thing to say is like I think his team didn't really show up the way that he needed them to. He had the team to beat David, but just didn't this week. 178 points for the type of talent that he has is not a good score.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson has been what's holding him down. As we talked about in the other segment of this, if people from FOMFA are only paying attention now, Watson has not been looking good, and people are going to, and I might be one of these people actually, point out, oh yeah, it's because Hopkins isn't there anymore. He's not going to be good anymore. And it's why I avoided him in drafts, but he's also had the hardest schedule to start the season.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying he's going to go back to that elite option. We'll see. But you can't write him off at this point. So these performances for Watson have been really sort of dragging Khalil down a bit. Thankfully, it hasn't hurt him too much in the overall record. Again, 2-1. If Watson performed, even got like a 30 to 40-point game, he still would have lost this week. It was entirely on the defense, and somehow the 49ers punter didn't punt once.
Yeah. That's usually automatic points.
Yeah, that's automatic, and that did not go well. So defense, special teams, not really helping them out here. The offense did pretty much what they were expected to do, other than DJ Moore, who is he has not been great. Last week, in week 2, 13 targets, 8 catches for 120 yards. He hasn't got a touchdown yet, which is going to hurt him. But how do you only get 2 catches for 4 yards when you're considered an elite receiver?
And you're the top receiver. That's so weird.
This is it seems like Bridgewater is liking Robbie Anderson more.
I've got Robbie Anderson in the other league.
And I know I tried to trade for DJ Moore several times from Khalil and just kept getting smacked down. I think a number of times, including Calvin Ridley in my offers, and I'm real happy.
Calvin Ridley is the best wide receiver in the league.
Yeah, right, I'm real happy those got rejected. It's often fun to go back and look at trade offers you made that someone's like, no, I'm not doing that. That's not enough. And you're like, oh, thank God. That's that guy rejected.
Yeah, it's interesting. That was a good call. Even in terms of start decisions, there's no the only one who've been Devin Ray, who got that super long kick return from Baltimore.
And to be honest, Jakeem Grant is just a better kick return.
Yeah, so you wouldn't have made that. I might have started Sammy Watkins over N'Keal Harry, but that wouldn't have made the difference either.
Yeah, no, this was just a loss. It was just you look at his potential points. Even if he had a perfect game, he still loses. So there's nothing Khalil could have done this week.
Yeah, it is what it is. It makes that division quite a bit more interesting, though.
It is interesting.
I love this division.
So let's get into the projections. Let's talk about what we picked for that game first, I guess.
So Watt favored by 8 points. We both took Watt, so we both took zeros there.
Yeah, we thought David was going to have some problems with Devontae Freeman and like all these villains, but he pulled through.
I'm happy for him. This made it a lot more interesting, and on that point, like you said,
I'm happy for the league. I'm not happy for him.
I guess I think that's probably a fair way to put it. Actually, all right, let's jump right into projections. See how this did. There we go. So big turnarounds here. I guess we're mostly in white division.
Well, David's odds of making the playoffs shot up after that big win from 15% to 36%. He's still not the favored one out of this cohort of like 5 good teams in this conference. He's still the underdog. I don't really get it thinking about his roster. And the interesting thing here, again, you look at the points scored, and he is higher than Cotton, than Turned Down for Watt. He's on par with Cloud to Ground, pretty much.
Yeah.
So you wonder what is causing this. And again, I think it just has to come down to probably just difficult scheduling.
Well, I mean, if it's playoff percentage, it's got to also come down to if whoever doesn't win your division probably gets the wild card between you and Jason.
I mean, we'll see. There's a lot of good teams here. I mean, it could be one of us who misses out here. I think it's the favorite for one of us to get it in terms of points, and just we don't have to play as many difficult games. But there's so many good teams; it's hard to know exactly what's going to happen. I think the difficulty that David is facing in these in these schedules is you look at the interconference games, because those are the ones where you're not playing the same teams.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be a distinct advantage or disadvantage. David's 3 games on the other side of the bracket are Colorado, Team Marines, Wario.
Wow.
That's brutal. I mean, those are probably the 3 best teams in that conference.
Yeah.
So that is what's really hurting him. Whereas you look at the other schedules around here, and Cloud to Ground is playing Team Marines, FF Village, and Year of the Sandwich. You look at say Ryan's schedule, for instance, he's playing Jayville, Year of the Sandwich, and your team.
He's playing the 2 teams.
Laughing anytime anyone has to play your team.
Well, they're going to definitely get a win. I don't think I'm getting a win this year.
Turn Down for What plays your team, Jayville and FF Village. Everyone else has easy schedules.
Yeah, Ron Mexico's got a rough one.
Against it kind of difficult, but like it's easy. David has the 3 hardest teams.
Yeah, and he plays Colorado this week before Colorado goes into bye week hell.
Yeah, I think my schedule is almost as bad as David. It's not quite, so mine isn't easy. I got Wario, then Colorado like him, but I get Jayville at least instead of Marines. But they're not a lot different. So David and I have much harder interconference schedules, whereas the other teams get free wins, which is what's leading to what you're seeing here.
Yeah.
Where these things are more competitive in terms of like me versus Cloud to Ground, despite the fact that I already have an extra win, and it was again and the tiebreaker against him. So it's that difficult interconference scheduling that's factoring in, and I think what's really hurting David there.
Yeah, and that's definitely going to be a very tough mountain to climb for all teams in here, but definitely David's facing down the barrel the most. He's going to need a lot of these types of games. Like, so if his guys come back from injury, maybe he gets those types of games and he wins all of those. And stays on par, but it's going to be tough. Like, because Cloud to Ground and you both end up getting 2 easy wins interdivisionally.
Another thing that's probably going to help out David or hurt David, I guess. My in week 7, I don't even have a second running back. All my running backs buys are on week 7, essentially, after Saquon got hurt. I might have picked up someone this week. I didn't see how the waivers went, but they're not going to be good. And I play Khalil that week.
Yeah.
So it's again giving his direct competitors like an advantage there. So this is just painful scheduling for David.
Yeah. He's like, I'd be interested to see if you had that strength of schedule thing. He's probably way down in that.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
And close to the end of the year, maybe some of the luck index, I'd be interested to see as the guy not competing anymore. So not getting totally enraged by it. Any other interesting swings in this in these projections in your view?
Well, what's irritating to me is I keep winning and keep going down in playoff odds.
Well, that's because it was. I feel like that might be what's going on in White Division as well, right?
Yeah, it's exactly that. Like, it means if I lose even one game, all of a sudden I'm in this. Am I even going to make the playoff situation? So it's a real tough situation here. And similarly to what we've spoken to, much like with David, my odds are hurt by who I have to play in the other conference. This week is going to be huge. My game against Wario is going to be a big difference, I think. If I win this one, I think you'll actually see my playoff odds increase for once instead of just keep dropping as I'm winning games.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Like, do you end up having a tougher schedule than Clap to Ground?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because you had the win against Clap to Ground, which is huge.
Yeah,
but before they play you again, they get to play Fort Myers, they get to play here at Sandwich, they get to play Hokage. So yeah, like there's some easy win, and then obviously the 2 teams in your division that they'll get to play again.
Well, we do. I do as well, but it's really just the interconference ones that are different ones. But easier schedule. On the other side of things, I mean, Team Marines just keeps creeping on up as they win games, up to a 68% chance, and now the favorites in the division to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Colorado's still exactly what we have seen every week, where it's like you are destroying everyone in terms of points, but that's not going to matter because you could win by 50 points in weeks 3 and 4, and then if you're losing in the midweeks, they're still losses.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tough, and Colorado's really gotta pray for a healthy team, but that division looking super competitive. Turt Rock. What's interesting here to me is that Turt Rocks has not looked good. They're 1-2. They haven't scored many points, but interestingly, for the first time seemingly ever, this is the opposite of what normally happens. Normally, projections are like, Mark, you're going to lose, and then Mark does super well. Here, the projections are like, you know what, 7-6. That's you're in contention. 47% chance of making the playoffs, but nothing his team has done has really been worthy of that. So we'll see what happens. I mean, maybe the wide receivers carry him, but it's an uphill battle for sure.
He's a projections anomaly.
Wario is the equivalent of my team last year where they make the playoffs. It's like, yeah, you're making the playoffs. This regular season is meaningless. No real battle for him. You can just sort of cruise by and watch all the rest of us and take his bye. Well, actually, interestingly enough, the bye week, only 60% is a little surprising to me. I would have thought that they would have had a much higher odds of bye week, but given some good odds to Team Marines, largely on that 3-0 start, I guess.
What gets you the bye week again?
Being the number 1 seed in the conference.
In the conference, okay.
Yeah. So I guess as long as Team Marines keeps winning games, there's a chance that they end up being the number 1 seed.
I do think Steven should be considering kind of his options to make some moves. I don't think his team is just strong enough to he's heading to playoffs, and is it good enough for him to just make playoffs? So he doesn't want to make some noise. He might have to. It depends on his approach. He might need to sacrifice a little bit of future to try and go for it now. But against Wario, is that feasible? I don't know.
Yeah, he'd also need to he can't get rid of players that are just useless. He can get rid of players that aren't necessarily pulling their weight, like Larry Fitzgerald making $7 million. Is that worth it? T.Y. Hilton, you keep hoping does something, but really hasn't yet, and is making 22.8. Marvin Jones making 20. Unfortunately, it's like, who's he going to get? Like, you've basically traded everyone up. Maybe Devontae Parker is a bit of an upgrade, but you can't take back T.Y. Hilton based on the rules. So
Think about Marvin Jones.
Yeah, I guess you could get Marvin Jones back or something. Does Cyril have anyone worth trading that could help him out? Not particularly. I mean, you're looking for that key player. Cyril's got those good young running backs, but I think that's not what I'd be looking for in Steven's position. I think you want someone who's not going to cost you a fortune like the young running backs would. Just someone who's look, I know you're not competing. This guy's not worth it to you.
Yeah,
I'll take him and offer you a little something for him.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not really anything there. On Luis's team, there's not really anything here either. It's it's gonna. I think the biggest possibility for a trade is going to be with FF Village.
If they kind of make the choice that I can get some assets for these guys I paid for.
Yeah, exactly. Keenan Allen, might as well trade him for one of the other high paid receivers and then just get a pick in the process. That's probably a trade that might work out for both of them if Derek decides, you know what, not the year.
Yeah, which is a tough thing to do in your first year. I think Jason had a good approach there, where he knew that it was going to be a multi-year. Well, I didn't realize it would be a next year situation, but he kind of, just mortgaged the team as soon as he got it. FF seems to be doing a bit of competing, but at some point, if he has that realization, then yeah, he could be a trade partner.
All right, so I hope everyone, is as angry as they always are with my projections. But,
I think these are fair projections.
Where we're currently at.
Nothing too surprising, and they've actually been doing have been working out the way that was expected. All right, should we go dive right into our picks then?
Well, let's make some picks.
All right, so again, I'm going to need you to read me off who the matchups are.
Make some picks, squash some beef.
So who's first?
First one is Turret Rocks is favored by 40 against Death Valley. Okay. How is Turret Rocks favored by 40 against anyone? Against Death Valley. So you started the picks last time, so I guess I'll start it out here. Hopefully Mark fields a full roster because he currently is lacking 3 players. 2 defensive backs and defensive lineman, I believe.
Yeah, he's just sitting here. This is weird.
40. I mean, there's really nothing on Death Valley's side of any note. I guess you got the Cleveland wide receivers, but who knows how the hell they do. Mark's team isn't. Lamar Jackson alone can beat Dwayne Haskins by at least 20.
Yeah, I know. So that's what I was actually thinking.
20 points are right there. The running backs on neither side are going to do anything. Evans, Fuller. I really like this 40 line. I think it's
a good line.
I think it's a tough call here.
It's a good line.
When in doubt, I go with the underdog. Just because it's sometimes hard to put up a lot of points. I'm gonna say Death Valley.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna agree. I was thinking Death Valley much quicker.
I am so on the fence just to make it interesting. If you want, I will switch to Turret Rocks.
All right. Because I was thinking Death Valley.
This line was a coin flip for me. So
yeah, because it is a good line. I'm going more by I don't know. I felt like Turret Rock underperformed and have been underperforming. It really could go anyway. So yeah, okay, fine. You're getting Turret Rock. I'm taking Death Valley.
All
right. Next up.
All right. Next on the list, we've got 100% Cotton favored by 30.
30
against Jayville.
Jayville, interesting. 30 against Jayville. Cotton has looked very good. Put up a lot of points. Ryan, like we've talked about ad nauseum at this point, Ryan's team looks good and is doing a good job. Where's the matchup on my screen? I don't know why on FOMFA it's always out of order for me. Here we go.
I'm just looking at the live score, and this isn't the order. This is the order Chris has given us.
Yeah, that's true.
Lines.
Let's see. Contact. Jarek McKinnon. 30 points.
30.
Just never playing the Bucks. I don't like that for him. It's a good line. I'm gonna say
Chris is doing better lines in this league, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick hesitantly pick Ryan to cover.
All right. Well, again, since it's a good line, I don't know. Justin Herbert really concerns me.
Yeah,
that is the only
Bucks
reason. You look at Jayville's receivers, and you're like, these go head to head against Ryan's, and might even be slightly better. Ryan's running backs are a bit better, but the difference between Prescott and Herbert is
that's a big difference.
Large,
similar to the other one, where the quarterback difference is big.
The counters, I feel defense can do anything at any real time. I think Higbee over Howard is like a 10-point difference there. But I also feel Prescott over Herbert is like a 20-point difference. So this gets me to that even line. Even receivers, Ryan's running backs are. Yeah, I'll also take Ryan.
All right, both taking Cotton. All right, next up. These are hard. These ones are hard.
These are good lines so far. The next one in what I would claim is the game of the week, but maybe it's actually Colorado versus David. Me versus Wario, 2 3-0 teams.
Mm-hmm. This is according to the website the game of the week.
After this, one of us ain't going to be 3-0 anymore, and I am favored by a mere 8 points.
8 points. This is a good game. I like this game. And a good line.
So I got to go first on this one.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like curse myself picking my team in close games, but like Scott Miller, as much as I like him as a fill-in at times, Golden Tate, fine. When you're talking about like a battle of the Titans sort of situation, those two aren't going to cut it. I don't like that those guys as plays here. So, outside of Aaron Donald, who I'm worried about and can be a game changer, I think I've got the better defense going. I like my options on offense better. I think I cover the 8.
Okay. I'm leaning in that direction, but I'm wondering if I should change it just because it is interesting.
And you got to catch up points against me.
Yeah. This is not gonna. I mean, you know what? I'm gonna go with Wario. I don't know if I totally believe it, but I definitely think that. I think you'll win. I'm just hoping for a close one. Yeah.
I mean, that's happened before where you won on the spread rather than
So let's go with that. All right, what's next, Phil?
Up next, we have Turn Down for What, favored by 50 against your trash team. And
I'm going first here, right?
You're going first.
Yep, I will take Turn Down for What to cover that.
I also will take Turn Down for What to cover that.
You gotta make these spreads bigger, Chris.
I think that was like a 70 to 80 points.
Against my team is bad.
Yeah.
I hope I surprise, but I won't. I'll try to, but I won't.
Who knows? But yeah, that's that's a Watt pick right there.
All right. Next up.
Hokage is favored by 8 against Lukashai's.
Interesting. That's interesting. I guess you're picking first because I called that.
I am picking first. I'm not even going to say backs. On the back solely of Aaron Rodgers, I am taking Lukashai's.
I was actually thinking the same thing. Does Hokage have anyone that they could bring in instead of Tariq Cohen?
I was wondering about that too.
I guess James White. Or Latavius, maybe James White? Do they have James White?
No, Latavius Murray is their best option.
Okay. That's something.
I mean, Keenan Allen and AJ Green, good options. Anthony Miller, who the hell knows?
This is a good one. I'm going to take Hokage. All right. So you're saying Luka Chaz, say Hokage. All right, next.
So next up, we have Cloud to Ground, favored by 23 points against Team Marines.
Ooh, good one. Good game. Team Marines being undefeated thus far, going up against his clear biggest challenge to date. Well, no, he played Cobra. Cobra was pretty good.
Cloud to Ground, a good deal better than Colorado, though.
All right. I'm picking here, right?
Godwin's still in the lineup, but isn't playing.
Chris Carson, too.
What happened to all of Cloud to Ground's receivers? How is it now Kendrick Bourne, Marquise Brown, and...
What happened? Yeah, this doesn't make any sense. Where are your receivers there, buddy?
Well, I know this was a problem going in, right? Like we were talking about, you could load up on running backs all you want. You have to start some receivers.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't have receivers,
Godwin, but if Chris Godwin is injured, that goes back to this problem.
Ooh, this makes this very interesting because Chris Godwin, doubtful. Henry Ruggs, doubtful.
Oh, Ruggs is doubtful too, huh?
Chark, questionable.
Yes.
Marquise,
he have a healthy receiver to play in that.
He might not have a healthy receiver, and this is not a good game for him to not have that because Marines has been good. Like, hadn't been putting up a whole lot of points, granted, but wow, yeah, he needs receivers. I think he's wheeled and dealed and made a lot of moves and hasn't left himself room for receivers. And he's favored by 23?
23.
Just on that, I think I'm going to take Marines to cover. I don't know if they'll win, but I think they'll cover that just because I think Cloud to Ground's going to have a low-scoring game.
So, I mean, Team Marines has been winning. They haven't been scoring a lot of points.
They have not, for sure.
Even with bad receivers, Mahomes, Josh Jacobs, Kamara, Mixon not so much, but I think there's a lot of potential here to just go off, and I think I will go with Cloud to Ground here.
Yeah, but, not bad.
And this is another line where I'm like, damn it, Chris, you're making this hard.
Yeah. I'm going off of the lack of receivers, but they could very easily go the other way, and he could very easily have a big game, regardless of his receivers. Okay, next up.
Fort Myers is favored over Sandwich by 17 points.
17 points over Sandwich. Fort Myers has been looking good. This is your pick first, I believe. Right?
Yeah, I think this one's...
this one's yours.
All right. Looking at this... not going to give away my thinking unless I'm picking second. So I am just going to go ahead and say, fuck this line is what I'm going to say. I think Fort Myers can cover that.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking too. Yeah, I'm thinking that. I need to catch up on you, but I think this is just a bad pick. Going the other way.
And finally, in a tight game, we have Ron Mexico's Avocados favored by 3 points over the Colorado Cobras.
This is a great game. This is a tough one.
It's his old quarterback going back up against him.
Against his old QB in a bitter rivalry.
He has Lockett, though, to offset some Russell Wilson points, which is interesting.
Every time Russell Wilson gets big points, to Lockett. John Brown's got to bounce back, I would have to believe. I think that the site is over-predicting Devontae Freeman, but maybe under-predicting Jeffrey Wilson, depending on Raheem Mostert. But I think he's out this week, too.
Yeah,
right?
I'm not expecting him back.
Is David seriously going with three running backs? Like, is this how bad his receiver situation is?
Who are you going to put in? If Michael Thomas plays,
this is a very different game.
His team looks a lot better. I think that's the interesting thing. This line is so dependent on if Michael Thomas plays.
All right, you know what? When in doubt, I'll go with my boy.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a quick click on Michael Thomas and see what I can find out in the next couple of seconds.
I'm going without even Michael Thomas.
Returns as limited participant at practice.
Ooh.
Michael Thomas comes back in here. That changes the game because I was going to go with Colorado with that spread because, those running backs outside of none of them are good. Some of them have good opportunity, but none of them are particularly good. Whereas Colorado, you got Aaron Jones, you got Derrick Henry.
Yeah. I'm hoping for big performances from Colorado's running backs.
You know what? Even if Michael Thomas comes back, I'm still
going to be a tough one for David.
I'm still going Colorado.
All right, Colorado. I like it. So, am I picking Chewin first here?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll up to turn down for Watt versus BKB.
Damn it. That was like the only game where I was like,
it's the only one that was like a clear winner.
So, fuck.
I really got to download those 2 clips. I don't know why I don't put them up. In video format, they work so much better than I did on the podcast last week. I'll do it for next week.
This is annoying.
Yeah, these are good lines. Chris did a good job here.
Other than the one with your team.
Yeah.
That's
he just needs to keep going up until we find it to be a good line.
I'm looking back through all these, and Godwin's not going to play. If it weren't for Godwin not playing and him having and Jason having no one on his bench to replace him, I'd be picking that one. But that can really hurt him there.
Sorry, for that one you did pick Marines.
I thought I picked Jason's team.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm
just not confident enough because of that.
Yeah, you picked Jason's. Yeah.
You know what? This is going to bite me in the ass. But out of all the games, I'm most confident in my win. I'm going to give myself my lock of the week here.
You know what? If it was gonna be if I had to go second, I think I would have put pictures.
It's
your team is very fucking good.
Yeah, so is Wario though. It's
so is Wario, but
Wario can easily win this game. So when I say it's my lock of the week, it's because I'm forced to have one, and Jan took the only obvious one. So don't be surprised if I lose this one, but I'm going with my team.
Well, if you lose it, then there's a little bit of catching up because I feel like I'm very behind. Let me count them up actually real quick. From all 3 weeks, all weeks that we've played. In terms of total scores, you have 30. I've got 25, and if you add up the locks, then you've got 35 total, and I've got 29. So we're not that far off, but the 1 point means a lot here. So,
yeah, 6 points is a decent amount.
Yeah, I gotta make a lot of comebacks, and especially considering in Ben Waffle, it's a lot harder to disagree. I've been finding.
Yeah, I think that'll change. Chris will get better at making the lines in that one.
Mm-hmm.
I think. I mean, in this,
he's very good at making lines in FOMFA.
Well, yeah, first few weeks there were some more obvious ones, but this one there was only down to one game where it's this is clear.
Really interesting. All right, I guess that does it for this week. My kid is coughing away in the background.
Oh, I was like, did you get a dog? What is that noise?
That's my boy on his baby monitor. He's not feeling too well. Otherwise, hope everybody has a good week and good luck in all the games, and we'll see you guys next week.
Take it easy.
Take it easy.